Why would you do a video like President Sundays without actually knowing 100%? Doesn't seem kind of doesn't seem a little dumb? Or like it seems like a pretty big risk. Like, maybe she didn't actually do it. Why would he lie if he knew there was evidence to the contrary so easily available? I don't know. I don't know why people do this. This was the same question I had about Fedmeister. That's what he's doing. He's Fedmeistering himself, right? I don't know why people would tell lies like this. This is really dumb.
He makes it appear that he's doing some level of good faith in scrolling through the website. He then again cuts to this image. Why does he do this? Because if you scroll even one more down.
Can I ask you a question? You have to be honest about this, okay? Ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Before we begin, I want to talk about the importance of credentials and the grave dangers of falsifying them.
Okay.
Professional and academic titles primarily exist to claim jurisdictional authority to laypersons with respect to a subject.
Ooh.
For example, a woman makes a claim concerning the efficacy of vaccines, and when challenged, is able to refer to her professional title as a medical doctor to bolster her credibility.
Okay.
We should listen to her because she's a doctor. She knows what she's talking about. If this claim to authority is distrusted, that is, if it is questioned whether or not she indeed has a right to that professional title, she can produce a written credential proving that she has been granted that right by a legitimate organization.
Okay.
If she can't produce that written credential, however, then she cannot substantiate her claim to authority, justifying her claim concerning the efficacy of vaccines, and her claims may be rightfully downgraded to the status of mere opinion.
Ooh.
In short, credentials exist to justify claims to authority. This does not mean that credentials justify all claims simply. Often, people with even the most prestigious credentials are wrong. Sometimes they may even lie. Sometimes, true claims or even great discoveries are made by people with no credentials against people with the strongest credentials. And sometimes, someone with no credentials pretends to have them in order to make themselves and the claims they make seem more credible than they really are.
Okay. Ooh.
Kyla,
Cut
aka
to
NotSoErudite, as she calls herself on Twitch and YouTube,
mispronounced
who I
name.
first became aware of as a result of her debate with ChudLogic concerning Dr. Alok Kanogia, better known as Dr. K. In the wake of the suicide of one of his guests, a gaming streamer going by the name Reckful in 2020, ChudLogic and others took issue with what they took to be Dr. K's inappropriate live streaming of quasi-therapy sessions before a very large audience on his channel, Healthy Gamer, as well as what they took to be pseudoscientific claims concerning the existence or non-existence of specific mental illnesses like depression, as well as insinuations that Ayurvedic medicine, such as that offered by his institution, could cure serious illnesses such as cancer. This debate disturbed me not because Kyla misrepresented her own credentials in any explicit way here, but because she attempted to portray herself as having a superior grasp of subject-relevant technicalities by means of terminology unintuitive enough to a layperson like ChudLogic to cause them to second-guess themselves, to put them on the back foot, and assert dominance in the conversation without actually adding any new information or providing clarity.
Ooh.
All, no less, while running interference for someone profiting from quite possible malpractice.
Jesus.
But if there's clinical experience, if there's even one case study, even if there's weak evidence for doshas, technically it's empirically backed.
No, I don't agree with this case. I don't agree with this case study thing at all. I don't think one case
study.
study.
Well, I'm not using case studies. I can just show you the image I have of multiple peer-reviewed articles. Because what he talks about, so when you're referring to Dr. K, he's talking about basically more or less his experience of, not his experience, he's had, I think he was talking about, he had a bunch of Ayurvedic practitioners in India that predicted how COVID would influence those people, right?
And?
Right, okay.
Okay, so that's why I'm talking about individual case studies, because in that case, that would be clinical experience, and if they documented it, that would then be labeled as a case study if it got peer-reviewed and published. That's what I'm talking about.
But case studies are considered to be the most useless part of like medical. Like,
okay, wait.
You would never use a case
study. Can you
walk
me through? You need to prove to me. Can you walk me through the steps of hypothesis generation? Do you know them?
Well, no, I don't know the steps of hypothesis generation.
Then what?
Oh, what?
You don't?
What?
No.
You need to know
And
that if you're levying these
why
critiques.
Why are you being so condescending?
Yeah,
You've been
erudite.
condescending to me almost this whole conversation.
No,
like, to be honest.
I haven't been condescending to you at all. You've insinuated that I'm racist earlier, which I let slide.
No, I
didn't make a
didn't.
big
I
deal
didn't
out of it.
insinuate.
You absolutely
asked me specifically
did.
about
And
it,
now
and I
now
clearly
you're gonna
said I
act like
don't
this
think
with
you're
me.
racist.
You're
No,
gonna
I'm
act
not
like this
acting
with
like
me.
anything. I'm not
Okay.
acting in any way.
Remind me, sorry,
right?
what are your qualifications again?
What does that matter? Did I ask you for any of your qualifications?
No, I'd just like
I
to
can
know,
give
because
them
if you want
you.
to take the expertise and act all pretentious with me, you can tell me what your qualifications are.
Okay, sure. Why don't I tell you the process of hypothesis generation?
No.
Since apparently you didn't know it, and then we can be on the same page.
Tell me
about
what. No.
something.
I'm not interested in that. Tell me what your qualifications are.
I'm not going down that road with you because it feels like bad faith argument. I can.
Well, no, I'm just
everyone knows
asking.
what my qualifications are in my channel. You're
you
welcome
wanna,
to ask
You
me
want to be
them.
super pretentious with me?
This
Let's
isn't
go.
good faith argument. This isn't good faith. I'm not being
Why-
pretentious with you.
I looked into her history,
Yeah.
and I found a Destiny segment referring to her as a psychologist in the title.
Uh-oh.
In this stream, she introduces herself as a psychometrician, and later refers to herself as a psychologist in that same stream.
Do you want to introduce yourself and why you wanted to chat, so that people know who you are?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So I'm going by NotSoErudite on social media.
Wait, she actually mispronounced her name the first time. Wait, that's the first thing where she actually is fake as because she always says it's not so erudite, and then people pronounce it a million ways. And when she introduces herself, she introduces herself as not so erudite. What the fuck? Whoa. Wow, okay, hold on. Hold up. Let him cook.
My name is Kyla, though. I am a psychometrician. That's my kind of highest level of professional training, and I am going to school for a master's in, I'm sure lots of people in your chat might feel weird about this one, but master's in clinical psychology, where I'm going to be specializing in forensics in teens specifically, but it's a child and youth clinical psych program.
Wow.
I'm also
Teens?
a licensed addictions counselor
Really?
as well. So that's kind of my background at this time.
What is can you explain to me? I don't know, what is a psychometrician?
Yeah, nobody knows. It's very obscure. So it's actually one of the few areas in the field that's not, it doesn't actually have a college body yet, so I can't like be a licensed psychometrician yet. It's basically like if you get the training or you have a job titled psychometrician, you're considered a psychometrician. So it's basically people specialized in administering psychological tests. So tests that you need specific training for is going to include things like IQ testing.
Is that his music in the background, like really slight, or?
Neuropsychological testing, so testing for like brain injuries and stuff like that through cognitive testing rather than just MRIs alone. And I'm trained in specifically forensic assessment as well, so determining risk levels of offenders if they're going to what we call recidivate, which is just reoffend when they get released. So that's what a psychometrician does. We run a bunch of tests and diagnoses.
There's very slight music in the background, I think.
And usually we work in conjunction with a psychologist who then typically they would be diagnosing. However, I'm going into clinical psych, so I kind of the reason I did psychometry was so that I was a well-informed psychologist and I could kind of do it myself. As a psychologist, I try to steer away from like trying to advocate strongly for major social changes because I recognize that I'm probably not the most informed. I can give you my opinion, but it's not my professional opinion, it's my personal opinion, right?
In a later stream entitled Confronting Controversy, in response to people on Reddit saying she had misrepresented her credentials, she explains that the title of the stream was a decision not of her but of Destiny's editor, August, and that she reached out and had the title corrected to A Psychometrician Reacts to Destiny's Tweets, not a psychologist.
Ooh.
She then points to a comment under the video where she insists that she is not a psychologist, but a psychometrist, and to get it right.
Okay, so the issue is, so the first thing that she's concerned about is, this is not the actual link. So at some point when I'm talking to Destiny, I f up in the middle of it and I say that I'm a psychologist.
The difficult thing.
Yeah, I agree. I like that's the problem though, is like as a psychologist, I tried
Right there. So as a psychologist, So that's the first contention. Okay, so there it was. As a psychologist, So yeah, that was a slip up. Basically what I'd say to that is it's easy to swap words. I was jumping between talking about actual psychologists and then jumping back to myself and talking about psychology as a field. But if you guys remember, when this original video was released, it was listed as a psychologist suggests, and I reached out to August directly and asked that it be changed, and it has been changed here. So this original video, when it was released, said psychologist. I'm not going to release the DMs because I don't put DMs on screen unless I like absolutely must. But basically, this used to say psychologist. I messaged Destiny directly and was like, hey, just so you know, I'm not a psychologist. I'm a psychometrist. Don't want to be claiming anything that I don't have.
Before reverting again to saying,
there's another video where I have a top comment. It's not this one. It's another conversation. Where, okay, so psychometrician. So psychologist. So you can see it was originally labeled as a psychologist. And I went and said, hey, August, I'm not a psychologist. I'm a psychometrician. Get it right.
Ooh.
This struck me as odd. You see, a psychometrician, as opposed to a psychometrist, is a scientist authorized to create and validate psychometric tests.
Quite,
whereas
indubitably.
a psychometrist merely administers them under the supervision of a trained psychologist. For Kyla to be either a psychometrician or a psychometrist, and these are significantly different, she would require some credential to the effect that she is a certified psychometrician or a psychometrist. This would take the form of a literal piece of paper on which the appropriate title would have been printed and referred to specifically, without room for ambiguity. To qualify for that credential, she would have spoken to supervisors, curated her course load in school, and filled out an application for it specifically. It is therefore unthinkable that she would simply forget what the title of her credential is. Moreover, psychometrician is a role with supervisory authority requiring a master's degree at least, and there is no category of registration for psychometrists in Canada, so it is impossible for her to be one of these as well. When pressed, Kyla has resorted to several strategies in her defense.
Okay.
First, she has claimed to be able to justify her self-description as a psychometrician by reference to a test she co-authored for use by the government. This does not grant her the credential of psychometrician or indeed even psychometrist. Let us refer to the Government of Canada's description of these two roles. Quote, psychometricians develop psychological tests, scales, and measures, and may administer or apply and interpret such tests.
I like the premise of the video is very funny. I'm not trying to knock I'm not trying to knock Kyla at all, but I'm sure she knows this. No, she is. She does know this. Nobody knows what any of these things are. So why would you think that like making one up over the other thing is like gonna be something you do to like impress somebody? Like imagine you're meeting like strangers and somebody's like, oh, what do you do for work? And you're like, let's say that you're really an optometrist, right? And you're like, oh, I'm an ophthalmologist. And they're like, what's that? You know, like an eye doctor. And it's like, oh, okay. Like in their mind, you're still like an optometrist. Nobody knows the difference between an ophthalmologist and an optometrist. For most people, it's like the same shit, right? So like, why would you ever go out and make that up when people are going to think the same of you either way, right? It just seems so weird. But maybe, I feel like I've been in so many conversations with Kyla where she's like stressed like a million times, like, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychologist. Like, it just seems weird that he's thinking she's trying to like sneak by where it's like, I wasn't going to trust that Kyla chick, but like, damn, I mean, she's a psychometrician. And then someone's like, no, she's actually a psychomonologist instead or whatever. And it's like, okay. Oh, well, I guess. I don't know. It just seems like the dumbest thing to lie about. What is the difference? An optometrist. Wait, do people in chat not know? I thought we were high IQ people. An optometrist is like a guy that like. Do you even need training to be an ophthalmologist or an optometrist? I don't even know if you do. You might be able to take like a year course, and now you can be like an eye doctor. An ophthalmologist goes to medical school. That's like a real ass doctor. I think ophthalmologists are oftentimes also surgeons as well, like eye surgeons. Ophthalmologist is you go to med school for that title, the whole shebang, the whole be a physician, you're a doctor, MD, ophthalmologist. An optometrist is like, I think you can take like a 6-month crash course at Walmart and you give people glasses. It's huge different, I think. Optometrists are a major program. Are they? I thought, hold on, I could be weird. Optometrists are doctors? Wait, are you sure? Hold on, let me check. Optometrist. I thought an optometrist is not a doctor at all. Am I wrong on that? I'm about to break this dog mouse. I'm about to break this mouse. Did you see this? Hold on. Watch my stream. I just scrolled down 4 times. Watch this. I have a new mouse coming in like 12 hours. I'm gonna break this mouse on stream. Hold on. Watch mouse. Optometrist is not a doctor. Watch me scroll down. Watch me scroll down 4 times. Watch this. Doctor at all. Am I wrong on that? Okay, sorry. Hold on. I just tried to scroll up. How much training to be an optometrist? Optometrist. Oh, okay. You do have to do 4 years to be an optometrist. My bad. It is a 4-year program, okay. But I don't believe you go to med school for optometry. It says doctor of optometry, but I'm almost positive you're not an MD. Well, I don't have to be positive. We can just look. Do you go to med school to be optometrist? Are not medical doctors, and they receive an OD degree. They attend optometry school. Okay, there you go. Jesus. Are ophthalmologist doctors? I believe an ophthalmologist always goes to medical school. Go to medical school, I think. You're mixing up psychologists and psychiatrists with eye doctors. No, I'm not. I don't know what the you're talking about. Okay. They do med school. They do med school. Ophthalmologists too. Okay. Jesus. Destiny, an optician is a 6-month course. What is an optician? Opticians advise customers on styles of eyewear that suit their needs. They fit eyeglasses and contact lenses. Okay, jeez. All right.
Scales and measures. Psychometrists administer and score psychological tests, usually under the supervision of a registered psychologist, unquote. Now, Kyla may well have co-authored what she has called an in-house youth addictions measure, whatever that is. She has not, to my knowledge, made its name public, and I have been unable to find any reference to it, or to her, for that matter, on any public record. But nonetheless, having done so does not authorize her to develop or validate tests for institutional use with the authority of a psychometrician. She has engaged in something that she has described, again without citation, as equivalent to the work of a psychometrician as a singular event that confers no ongoing authority or title to her.
Oh my God.
She can also not claim to have been temporarily operating in the functional capacity of a psychometrician for the very reason that this in-house youth addictions measure was co-authored in all likelihood by either a colleague of roughly equivalent authority or a supervisor. We may never know, but it's immaterial. Kyla, again, has no authority as a psychometrician, and when she has insisted that she is one, she is lying. Another strategy Kyla has deployed has been to argue that psychometrist and psychometrician are terms used colloquially in the field to refer to the same thing. This is incorrect, but moreover, she has demonstrated knowledge of the difference between these two, again to defend her dubious credentials. Her story has not stayed straight.
Dubious!
The real problem, however, is that she is not authorized to self-describe even as a psychometrist. Why? Because, as stated earlier, the category of registration for psychometrists in the province of where she obtained her degree doesn't exist. Which brings us to her third strategy, in which Kyla claims to have a graduate diploma in psychometry.
And then you have, I have never heard of it, a graduate certificate?
Graduate diploma in psychometry.
Now, psychometry, as defined by Wikipedia, is, quote, a form of extrasensory perception characterized by the claimed ability to make relevant associations from an object of unknown history by making physical contact with that object, unquote. What she means to say is that she has a graduate diploma in psychometrics, which is concerned with the measurement of psychological constructs.
What is the difference? Who actually cares? It's so weird to accuse her of like intentionally lying over this. Like it's giving her all sorts of credibility.
IQ tests, personality tests, etc. No diploma would have psychometry written on it. And the reason why Kyla frequently confuses the writing on her own credential, which she must have worked and applied for over a period of many months at least, is because no such diploma exists. Again, because there is no registry for psychometrists in. Which begs the question, what qualifications does Kyla have? On her Discord server, Kyla posted a link to a website called Mental Help. What is mental help? In the wake of the ongoing COVID pandemic, the Alberta government provided a one-time grant funding of up to $25 million in the years 2020 to 2021 for eligible projects and services to enhance community mental health and addiction recovery supports and services. Kyla won this grant to create Mental Help.
And so during COVID, we heard about this.
Jesus Christ! Where the is this video from?
That the government was giving out, kind of predicting that there would be a mental health crisis around COVID. And so just the CEO of Adira approached a couple of us staff and was like, anyone got ideas? We can maybe make a secondary program. And I put forward the idea of mental help. It wasn't named anything then. Wow. But I was just like, well, we could do this. It's a little bit based out of what I did actually my undergrad thesis on, which is like the research that I did. And we were lucky enough to be selected by the government to run the program for a year.
Which promised to deliver a series of 18 videos in which, quote, Counselor Kyla covers topics across the gamut of mental health, from depression and anxiety to addiction and substance abuse. Each video covers a different topic and seeks to offer the viewer a rounded knowledge, therapeutic resources, and practical tools to maintain their own mental health. Mm-hmm. Through social media, video resources, and in-person seminars with organizations, Mental Help aims to educate our community about the preconditions for addiction and arm individuals of all ages and genders with tools to identify and prevent a worsened mental health.
Okay.
Unquote. Despite Kyla claiming herself in September 2021 that the full program will be available within that same month.
Our full program is going to be available September of 2021.
None of the aforementioned resources have materialized. In direct conversation between her and myself, Kyla has claimed to have completed her end of the work and blamed her company for failing to deliver. An uncharitable observer might remark that this was right before she started seeing success on TikTok and received a massive boost in exposure by connecting with the very large channel Destiny on YouTube.
Name drop.
In any case, the Mental Help website is...
was that just like, well, I'm suggesting this, but I don't want it to sound like I'm suggesting it, or is that like tongue-in-cheek? Just like, and I am suggesting it, right?
Is as of right now defunct. Not a single in-person seminar has taken place. No booklets have been released. And despite creating video content for years for the NotSoErudite channels, quite possibly facilitated by equipment purchased with the grant money, Kyla has not released any video content for Mental Help to date. Incidentally, Mental Help has a YouTube channel. A few months ago, it was privated. Its description now refers to itself in the past tense. Quote, Mental Help was a one-time project by Adira Recovery Center breaking down mental health topics in 13 videos, unquote. Now, I'm not going to say that Kyla defrauded the Canadian government in a time of crisis, possibly using resources intended for pandemic relief to pursue a glamorous online career as a Twitch streamer, and I'm sure the unnamed staff at this company, which Kyla claims to be the founder and the director of, is solely at fault for not a single one of the promised resources ever materializing, despite Mental Health being apparently so near completion that Kyla was personally promoting it as being ready to launch in the same month. And I am positive that it is a complete coincidence that Mental Help disappeared from the face of the earth at precisely the moment she found internet success on YouTube and Twitch. because I am concerned here with her credentials, and as it happens, the website she posted to mental help in her Discord server provides some. Quote, all information provided by mental help is written and hosted by Kyla, a licensed addictions counselor, psychometrist, and graduate diploma in psychological assessment, unquote. Now this is interesting for two reasons. First, note that here she is suddenly both a licensed psychometrist and a graduate diploma in psychological assessment, as if these are separate things. But there's a second reason. Mental Help was supposed to launch in September of 2021. Well, I found the Mental Help Facebook page and through it Kyla's own Facebook page, and there I found precisely what credentials she has. An undergraduate degree in psychology and a graduate diploma in psychological assessment from which she studied for from September 2020 to September 2021, implying that she began calling herself a psychometrist prior to receiving her graduate diploma, and a psychometrician before convocating. Recall that according to the Canadian government, a psychometrician is authorized to, quote, develop psychological tests, scales, and measures, and may administer or apply and interpret such tests, scales, and measures, without any mention of a supervisor, whereas psychometrists merely administer and score psychological tests, usually under the supervision of a registered psychologist. This is the program description for the now discontinued Graduate Diploma in Psychological Assessment at for post-BA students.
Thanks.
Quote, for post-BA students, the program is intended to offer professional preparation to provide skilled assessment services under the supervision of a registered psychologist,
Wow.
e.g., as a psychological assistant, unquote. Kyla is not a psychometrician, either by qualification or by special permission, and she doesn't have any piece of paper reading graduate diploma in psychometry or in psychometrics. She can't have one, again, because there is no category for registration for psychometrists in. I know this because I personally emailed
Jesus Christ.
and I asked if it would be appropriate, having achieved my graduate diploma in psychological assessment, if I put down either psychometrician or psychometrist in a job application in that field. And Professor, director of the Applied Psychology program in the Faculty of Arts at told me this, quote, no, it is not appropriate to use the term psychometrist, since there is no category of registration for psychometrists in the province of. If you are not living in Alberta, you should check with the regulatory body that governs the profession of psychology where you are. There may be specific requirements for the use of this title, e.g., a master's degree, unquote. Now, Kyla does not have a master's degree yet, and she certainly did not have one in 2022, and she certainly did not have one in 2021. So, if Kyla is not a psychometrician or even a psychometrist, why does she claim to be? It's very simple, actually.
Oh, he's going to tell us.
Remember that the purpose of a professional title is to claim jurisdictional authority when speaking to laypersons.
Okay.
So, when Kyla disparages skeptics of the validity of IQ testing, say, and compares them to anti-vaccine conspiracy mongers, despite this being a grossly unscientific and irresponsible comparison, her followers, who know her as a psychometrician, have it firmly planted in the back of their head.
I could be wrong. She's probably said it at least once, I'm sure, just by amount of time she's said anything. But I feel like I've never heard Kyla say, like, oh, of course I'm right about this. I'm a psychometrician. I don't know if I've ever heard her say that ever in my entire life. I mean, maybe she has, and I just don't remember, but.
Already that she is an authority in this area, a psychometrician, and that if anyone knows the truth of the matter, it will be her. Unfortunately, it appears as if she has no right to either of these titles, which means that not only is she using her platform to abuse people's trust and spread dangerous misinformation, she is also a textbook case of credential fraud.
Ooh.
As always, thank you for listening, and take care.
Hold up. All right. We have a response. Buckle up. The fraudster responds.
As you all know, President Sunday made a video about me. In this video, he makes several claims about me and my character. I will be responding to all of his claims here. I ask that if you want to watch the full video that he released, that you do so at the alternative link that I've provided in the description below. Sick Unchained kindly re-uploaded his video unaltered, but removed all of mine and other individuals' personal identifiers that President Sunday chose to include in his original video.
I gotta watch this.
Accusation that you believe I ignore, let me know and I will respond to them. I don't really have anything to hide except for my personal identifying information. President Sunday's video is convoluted and self-referential, so I've pulled out his broad claims and I've organized them into 3 sections. Each section has multiple claims that he has made with their associated clips. You will notice that the clips are pulled from multiple points of his video. This is again due to the convoluted and self-referential nature of his video. The first section contains all of his claims that relate to my credentials, to psychometrics, psychometry, psychometricians, and psychometrists, and my experience in the field. The second section has all of his claims regarding mental health and the implied accusation that I embezzle money from the government of Alberta.
Damn.
The final section is brief, but it outlines some of the tactics that Sunday uses in his video to actively omit relevant information that would contradict his claims. Now, for the spice.
What does that mean? Oh. Wow, we got graphics and everything.
From the very beginning, we have weaponized ignorance.
Psychometry, as defined by Wikipedia, is, quote, a form of extrasensory perception characterized by the claimed ability to make relevant associations from an object of unknown history by making physical contact with that object, unquote.
Sunday, if you had tried, you could have clicked the See Psychometry section. And if you had, you would have seen this. A list of other ways that the term psychometry is used. And if you would collect psychometrics, you would have seen that psychometry refers often to a discipline of psychology and education concerned with the theory and technique of measurement.
Ooh.
Psychometrics.
Yikes.
In fact, if you had only Googled psychometry and read the second line of almost every single dictionary definition, it says psychometrics. This isn't the dunk that you think it is. Calling my field psychometry is fine and common practice. When I first heard people mentioning that psychometry refers to some like ooga booga witchcraft stuff, I aimed to not say psychometry at all to try to reduce confusion, even though it is synonymous with psychometrics. Every attempt at good faith I have made to just avoid confusion over my credentials, you have weaponized against me as changing my story. Someone on Twitter brought this up to him, and he ran from it. He shifted the goalposts, and then he eventually gave up.
He ran.
It's a sickness, said. You are just a lazy, clout-grabbing goblin that's willing to do anything in service of forming a narrative to attack people because they hurt your feelings. The worst part is, you're bad at it. I opened this up.
These colors don't run, boys.
I outlined just
I didn't run.
That was really
I didn't
over
run.
the top.
I didn't run.
Okay.
I didn't run. I
Okay.
didn't run.
That's
I
fine.
didn't run.
But I think if you, and please let
I
me just,
didn't.
sir,
I didn't run.
please let
but
me
you're
get my
wrong.
point out.
Bree.
I'm trying
I
to be
didn't run.
respectful here. Just let me get my point out.
He doesn't have a
which
master's
is-
degree in psychometry. She has a graduate diploma
look,
in
if you're gonna
psychological
cut me off
assessment.
and not
She has
let me
sold
answer
herself
the
as a
question.
psychometrician and a
Yeah,
psychometrist.
can
She is
you
neither.
please mute this?
He has
Who
also
even
claimed that a
cares?
psychometrist
Who
is the
cares
title of a
about any of
master's
this?
degree.
This is bullshit, Sunday. Shut the f up.
Sunday responds, you're just stupid. Sometimes people who are sloppy do indeed innocently mix up psychometrics with psychometry. The point is that, just as she doesn't have a degree that says psychometrist or psychometrician on it, she certainly doesn't have one saying psychometry. That was not the point,
and you're just lying. You went out of your way to read the definition of psychometry paranormal. The alternative is that you are insanely stupid. In any case, double down on what you actually said or walk it back. Don't make up a better point to defend. Well, you might have noticed psychometry can be disambiguated to psychometrics because it's commonly mixed up with it, but you can't disambiguate psychometrics to psychometry because that would be incorrect. This is just Wikipedia providing clarity for the perplexed. Wrong, but also no. In this case, it's just Wikipedia giving disambiguation for words that are similar etymologically. We both know that these words are similar in that way. Everyone with eyes knows that, which is why I maintain that you knew exactly how deceitful you were being.
Ooh.
Here we see the actual main page of psychometrics. For other use of this term, see similar terms, psychometry, disambiguation. President Sunday responds, and it's clear in his response that he didn't even click the image. That's not disambiguating from psychometrics into psychometry as a possible meaning. That's saying, see psychometry for similar terms. That's the part slightly cut off from the left there. I'm sorry you don't know what you're talking about. It's not cut off. You just need to open the whole page. That is unfortunately how Twitter crops the preview, but the full image is there if you click. To reiterate, you would have to be stupid or bad faith based solely on the similarity of these words to make the argument you did. In any case, you were still wrong. And this user provides a definition from the APA, which is the American Psychological Association, where you see at the bottom, psychometrics, also called psychometric psychology, psychometry. Unless you're trying to say that the APA to President Sunday is woefully ignorant as to the definition of these words. Sunday, obviously defeated at this point, just responds, yeah, it's really common confusion of terms, merits clarification in a dictionary, will not be printed on a diploma, which was the point. It's not confusion. The APA treats them as synonymous. As I just pointed out, they aren't even the only ones. You are still lying. The point was a cringe dunk.
Liar.
Don't try to be a comedian when you wield incorrectness to levy serious claims.
Oh my god.
Notice here that claim 3 and 5 are in direct contradiction with claim 4. Sunday's going to jump around a lot with this. His arguments are as follows. Step 1. You can't call yourself a psychometrist because there is no category of registration or certifying body.
And there is no category of registration for psychometrists in Canada, so it is impossible for her to be one of these as well.
Step 2. You need to be formally credentialed to call yourself a psychometrist.
For Kyla to be either a psychometrician or a psychometrist, and these are significantly different, she would require some credential to the effect that she is a certified psychometrician or a psychometrist. This would take the form of a literal piece of paper on which the appropriate title would have been printed and referred to specifically, without room for ambiguity.
Step 3. Remember step 1? Sunday argues later, again, that you cannot call yourself a psychometrist in Alberta. It doesn't exist. You cannot be formally credentialed as one.
Because as stated earlier, the category of registration for psychometrists in the province of Alberta where she obtained her degree doesn't exist.
So there's no registration. So I can't call myself one. But also, I need to be registered. But there's also no registry in Alberta. AKA, Kyla, ontologically, isn't a psychometrist. Sick argument. But I'm not done. Let's break these steps down a little bit more. Let's remind ourselves of step 1 of Sunday's sick argument. Step 1. Kyla can't call herself a psychometrist because there's no category of registration or a certifying body in Canada. This isn't actually quite true. There is a certifying body for psychometrists, but that's only in the province of Ontario. So if I lived in Ontario, I could apply to be a registered psychometrist. However, even in Ontario, where the requirements are the most specific, you don't need to be registered to work as a psychometrist.
Why does she make a censored video of his thing? But then when she talks about it, she just like doxes everything for herself. What was the point of her censored video? I don't know.
You only need to be registered to call yourself a registered psychometrist. Let's go now to the Association of
Someone else
Psychology
made it
Leaders
for her?
in
Oh, okay.
Ontario Schools.
Interesting.
When asked, what is a psychometrist? They say, a psychometrist is generally used to refer to someone who administers psychological tests. The term psychometrist is not a legally protected title, and people who hold this title do not legally require any special training. However, typically, psychometrists possess a bachelor's degree in psychology or a related discipline, and usually they work under the professional supervision of a psychologist or a psychological associate. What's interesting is that regarding registration, particularly in my province, I agreed with Sunday last year when I first introduced myself to Destiny.
What is a? Can you explain to me? I don't know. What is a psychometrician?
Yeah, nobody knows. It's very obscure. So it's actually one of the few areas in the field that's not, it doesn't actually have a college body yet, so I can't like be a licensed psychometrician yet. It's basically like if you get the training or you have a job titled psychometrician, you're considered a psychometrician. So it's basically people specialized in administering psychological tests.
So you're kind of right, Sunday. I told you that last year.
Ooh.
In Alberta, there is no category of registration. That is not evidence, though, that the title or the occupation itself does not exist, or that you can't be one in Alberta. As evidence that you can, here's a job posting from the Alberta Health Services website, which is the single health authority for the province of Alberta. If we go to this, we very quickly see psychometrist in the Calgary zone. For those who don't know, Calgary is a city in Alberta. If we look at the qualifications that are required, we see completion of a bachelor's degree in psychology from an accredited university with additional requirements of experience administering and scoring psychological and neuropsychological tests in the last year. This gets us back to step 2 of his sick argument, where Sunday tries to argue that I need to be formally credentialed to be a psychometrist.
For Kyla to be either a psychometrician or a psychometrist, and these are significantly different, she would require some credential to the effect that she is a certified psychometrician or a psychometrist. This would take the form of a literal piece of paper on which the appropriate title would have been printed and referred to specifically, without room for ambiguity.
As seen before, this is simply not true. There is no formal certification for psychometrists or psychometricians in Alberta, yet there are a plethora of positions labeled as psychometrician, psychometrist in Alberta, and people use that title for themselves. Here is that same Government of Alberta job posting for psychometrist that I outlined required only the completion of a bachelor's degree.
Okay.
Here is a different job posting, this time for a senior psychometrician. You'll see that even at a senior psychometrician level for the Government of Alberta, the qualifications required is a master's degree in a related field plus 5 years related experience or equivalent as described below.
Okay.
Equivalency, a bachelor's degree plus 7 years of related experience.
Okay.
Here's a job ad from Quebec for a psychometrician, and it only requires a post-secondary degree in arts, psychology, science, health, or a combination of education and training and experience deemed equivalent. Here's another job posting, this time from the Government of BC, for a psychometrician position. I'm going to outline here what's very interesting. The psychometrician position requires planning, implementing all sorts of psychometric properties. This is very high-level psychometric work, where they're essentially assessing, developing, supporting, doing research with psychometric studies itself.
Okay.
And what does it require? A bachelor's degree or higher in educational measurement, psychometrics, statistics, computer science, data science, or a related field. My graduate diploma in psychological assessment would qualify me for this job. So now on to step 3 of his argument. Sunday argues that I cannot call myself a psychometrist in Alberta because it doesn't exist. You can't be formally credentialed as one.
Because, as stated earlier, the category of registration for psychometrists in the province of Alberta, where she obtained her degree, doesn't exist.
This is puzzling, to say the least. Sunday correctly identifies that the category of registration for psychometrists in Alberta doesn't exist. But he's using that fact to try to indict me for calling myself one. If you have the training and you do the work pertaining to a description such as psychometrist, psychometrician, scientist, or even janitor, you can call yourself one. They're just job titles and descriptions. Unless, of course, there is some professional distinction or protected title that prohibits you from doing so. An example of a protected title would be something like a psychologist. You cannot call yourself a psychologist unless you are explicitly registered with the proper colleges and authorities.
I do.
Is because no such diploma exists. Again, because there is no registry for psychometrists in Alberta. Which begs the question, what qualifications
Raises the
does
question.
Kyla have?
Again, no matter how confidently you say something or how sinister you make it sound, that doesn't make it so. And since you asked so politely for my qualifications, let's get into them. Now, in the past, I have avoided getting into everything in high levels of detail. I've spoken in generalities because I don't want malicious actors identifying me. Unfortunately, President Sunday has mostly ripped the Band-Aid off on that one. And there's not much that hasn't been revealed. So I'm going to walk you through what precisely my qualifications are to be speaking on these things. That way, any questions or qualms are answered right here. I have a Bachelor of Arts with a major in honors psychology as my undergraduate education. Many people don't
Yikes, grabbing the BA instead of the BS. Oof, not a good look, Chief.
know what an honors bachelor is, including many people who have taken standard bachelor programs. An honors is basically when you combine a major and a minor, credit-wise, into a single topic. So in an honors psychology, I didn't do a minor. The credits required for a minor, I had to commit to psychology as well. This basically creates a specialized bachelor.
Begs the question has 2 meanings on Google. Yeah, because beg the question has been used improperly so many times, it's basically the equivalent of raises the question now. Yeah.
Degree. And in the case of psychology, it's essentially the equivalent of like writing like the MCAT or the LSTAT to get into graduate school for like medical school or law school. We are now in psychology recognizing an honors degree as essentially a higher level of education that is required to get into programs that are as competitive as things like a PhD clinical psych program.
Wow.
A lot of people think that an honors psych just means good grades. But if you look at my diploma, it has the honors there and with distinction. The with distinction part is the part that communicates good grades. But that's not all.
Is she house?
I also have a graduate diploma in psychological assessment. Rather than telling you myself what that means, I'm going to let our old friend Sunday, Wendy, describe for you what that means. In this program, students acquire psychological assessment skills, specifically in personality and intellectual assessment. These skills are also titled psychometric skills. In some jurisdictions in North America, the term psychometrist is a regulated or protected job title. This is not the case in Alberta. So graduates who've received training in our psychological assessment diploma program, or individuals who have undergraduate degrees with further training from registered psychologists, may be employed in work where they use the job title psychometrist, psychometrician, or psychological assessment. Respectfully, Wendy, from the same university you contacted.
Wow.
Now that we've established what my degree and diploma are in, let's get into this even more. Here is my CV with my education listed. You'll see that I have a graduate diploma in psychological assessment, the graduation date you already know, and I have a BA in honor psychology. And if you want to know, I was a pretty smart kid even into high school as well. Here are the academic awards that I won all throughout university. Most of these academic awards were sufficient to pay for most of my way through my undergraduate education. Here is my research experience. You will note that I have removed my current workplace. That is because nobody to this date has leaked where I work, and I don't want people to know. So there is one piece of information missing, which is the current lab that I'm doing research in right now. However, before that, this is my pre-established research experience. As you can see, I did a thesis on a theory of social anxiety. I did it from the ground up. This means I'm the one who drafted the REB application for not one, but 2 studies. I'm the one who developed the novel intervention protocol and did the research into the literature around this idea. I'm the one who created the intervention materials, both the video and the worksheets. I'm the one who converted the established measure to analyze social anxiety. I am the one who analyzed the results on a statistical software called SPSS. And I am the one who converted these findings into a formal thesis and presented them. You'll also notice on here the technology use and impact questionnaire. This is the questionnaire that I've openly talked about with Sunday that I created for my government to assess technology use in drug-addicted teens. This measure was both exploring technology use in Canadian teens, and it also was used to evaluate the correlation between substance abuse and technology use. The last 2 are just 2 studies.
What if Kyla's actually just like super like fucking arrogant and she wanted a chance to brag about all of her credentials, so she like paid President Sunday like $1,000 to like make a bullshit hit piece on her just so that she could brag about all this shit? What do you think of the chances?
That I was a research assistant on during my 3rd and 4th year of my university. Finally, I'm going to show you the youth parents addiction measure that I.
Is there any proof she didn't do that?
This is it with all the relevant information removed. As
That's all
you
I'm
can see
asking.
up here is part of the application process, and usually at the front page of a lot of different assessments, there will be an outline of the literature review as to what the purpose of this measure is. This section that I'm showing you is the youth-only section. There was also a very similar parent section because we compared the youth-reported and parent-reported technology use and their drug addiction use. What you'll note is that I am the first author on the measure. I did the bulk of the work. My supervisor is the second and co-author. Here's a screen grab from the proposal PowerPoint I made when I presented in front of the managerial lead of the Youth Addictions and Mental Health portfolio of my provincial quadrant. I will get more into the years of work I did in developing the measure in Claim 11. However, I want to note that the last edit of this proposal was January 8th, 2018. I then worked for a 1.5 years as an addictions counselor. During my work there, addictions counselor became a licensed profession, and I registered as well. While working at the Addiction Recovery Center, I fully revamped their assessment protocols. I established an empirically studied suicide risk assessment by Chu et al., and I updated their mental health assessment forms for intake. I also helped the team create a quarterly evaluation measure to use with clients to track their improvement over time in treatment quantitatively.
For Kyla to be either a psychometrician or a psychometrist, and these are significantly different, she would require some credential to the effect that she is a certified psychometrician or a psychometrist. This would take the form of a literal piece of paper on which the appropriate title would have been printed and referred to specifically, without room for ambiguity.
I'm sorry to beat a dead horse here, but the circuitous and convoluted nature of President Sunday's claim requires a lot of back and forth. As President Sunday has displayed, he has virtually no understanding of the title psychometrist, psychometrician, nor their requirements, nor anything about protected titles themselves. His assertion that there ought to be no room for ambiguity in these titles, it's a fabrication, a rhetorical flourish meant to stun the audience the Sunday's handle on the subject matter.
Yes, never forget that Erin stands the fuck out of President Sunday. I believe I've quoted her as saying verbatim, President Sunday is my favorite content creator, and I have never in my entire life heard or seen him do anything incorrect, I believe is what she said. Don't ever forget that. Don't ever forget that.
After all, as has been discussed, there is no such thing as a certified psychometrician anywhere on Earth, that at least I can find. Certainly not in Canada. And there is no such thing as a certified psychometrist in Alberta. If we go back to the clip where he is defining psychometrist and psychometrician using the Government of Canada website, he states,
Psychometricians develop psychological tests, scales, and measures, and may administer or apply and interpret such tests, scales, and measures. Psychometrists administer and score psychological tests, usually under the supervision of a registered psychologist, unquote.
He is acting like because the psychometrician definition doesn't list a need for a supervisor, that this means that they have the ability to supervise themselves. He's acting as though psychometricians have the superior positioning over psychometrists. Where did he get this definition and the hierarchies from? At 1120, you see that he cites the National Occupation Classification, or the NOC, by the Government of Canada, where a distinction is made between psychometricians and psychometrists. Case in point, right? Wrong. The NOC is not a governing body that rigidly defines occupations. In fact, even in this document, you will see it is even vague about the required education on this page, and all the information below those definitions is used to apply to both titles together.
Yikes.
Here's an even funnier thing. In President Sunday's YouTube description, he is self-describes as a political scientist. I am a political scientist who talks about stuff. And he can do this without infringing on any sort of ethic, in part because political scientist, just like psychometrist or psychometrician, is not a protected title. Let's go back to the NOC website and go on a little adventure together. Go back to the NOC website, you'll get left at 4169, which is part of where psychometrist and psychometrician were listed. If you roll down, these are occupations in social science, and you will see, right above psychometrist, political scientist. If you go down, you can look at the profiles of them. As you can see, we were just previously with President Sunday at 4169.7. Let's try going into 4169.6.
Okay. What's there?
Scroll down, click into the definitions. You'll arrive here. Let's read the definition of a political scientist
Uh-oh.
according to the same website together. Political scientists conduct research into the theory, origin, development, interrelationships, and functioning of political institutions, political movements, and individual political behavior. Now, what's interesting is that if you scroll down, all the way down to education, you will see that a master's or doctoral degree is usually required. Now, thankfully, political scientist is not a protected title, nor does it require registration with any certifying body. Isn't that handy, President Sunday?
Oof. Oof.
Another strategy Kyla has deployed has been to argue that psychometrist and psychometrician are terms used colloquially in the field to refer to the same thing. This is incorrect, but moreover, she has demonstrated knowledge of the difference between these two, again to defend her dubious credentials. Her story has not stayed straight.
Well, according to our good pal Wendy, graduates who receive training in our psychological assessment diploma program or individuals who have undergraduate degrees with further training from registered psychologists may be employed to work where they use the job title psychometrist, psychometrician, or psychological assistant. Now, you may try to argue that this doesn't prove that the terms are used interchangeably. It just shows that my training qualifies me for each of these roles. But remember, there are two ways that Sunday tries to firmly differentiate psychometrist from psychometrician. The first is the level of education and supervisory authority. However, job postings from across Canada don't seem to make any precise differentiation in education level or supervisory authority between these two terms. For example, here we have a job for a psychometrist that requires an honors bachelor or a master's degree. Here is an application for psychometrist as well that just requires an undergraduate degree in psychometry. Interesting verbiage here. Here's posting for a psychometrician. Look at the level of education required. Remember, Sunday tries to suggest that psychometrician has higher authority and more education requirements, and yet this job requires a bachelor's degree or higher in educational measurement, a bachelor's degree or higher in psychometrics, statistics, computer science, data science, or a related field. Here, we have another psychometrician posting, where the requirement for degree is just a bachelor's. And if you look at the roles that this psychometrician job does, it's only responsible for conducting cognitive assessments, not for developing cognitive assessments or developing psychological measures.
Oof.
The final one, the psychometrician, whose primary role is assessing and subject recruitment. When you look through the responsibilities, all that is required for this is to perform various assessments, which, by the way, I am trained in most of these. Now, this already suggests that at least within the field, these terms are used interchangeably to describe both levels of education required and responsibilities at work. However, if you look at other governing bodies for psychology, we again get even more ambiguous definitions of both of these terms. Here is the APA, or the American Psychological Association, defining the term psychometrician. As you'll see, it talks about a theoretical knowledge of measurement techniques and trained to administer, which is also called a psychometrist. Now, the American Association doesn't have authority over me. I'm Canadian. I live in Alberta. So, I'll do you one better. Let's go to the College of Alberta Psychologists, which would be the governing body under which psychometrists would be defined. We search for psychometrist, you'll see use and role of psychometrists. A psychometrist is typically responsible for the administration and scoring of psychological tests under the supervision of a psychologist. The document then goes on to describe the relationship between the supervising psychologist and the psychometrist. However, if you scroll down in the document, as you continue along, describes it all and then outlines third-party observers, which is an individual other than the client and the psychologist and the psychometrician. Now, you might think, well, maybe they have a psychometrist who's working for them and a psychometrician, which would be very assumptive of their budget capabilities. But I will implore you, if you look at this document and you try to find psychometrician anywhere else, you can't. This is because generally the field uses psychometrist more than psychometrician just across the board. When it's talking about a third-party observer and counting out the psychometrician is the psychometrist that they just previously were referencing to.
Wow.
One might even say that these titles are ambiguous.
Wow.
I started making the distinction between the titles
Big
to appease
oof,
people who
big
asserted
oof there.
via Google search that these titles were entirely distinct, despite no one seeming to treat them separately in my field. In speaking with Wendy over the phone, she agreed that the titles are often used synonymously and interchangeably. In fact, the entire time we were talking to each other on the phone, we would use psychometrician, psychometry, psychometrics, or psychometrist, all interchangeably quite regularly, and were fully able to understand, and at no point did she clarify whether we're talking about a psychometrist or psychometrician. If you actually notice in the original email from Sunday, she didn't even bother to differentiate these. He asks if I achieved a graduate diploma, is it appropriate to call myself a psychometrician or a psychometrist when I apply for jobs in the field? Again, this question has nothing to do with my personal background or history, where I've worked as a psychometrician previously and currently work as well in the field. She said, no, it's not appropriate to use the term psychometrist. since there is no category of registration for psychometrists in the province of Alberta. Why
Holy.
would Wendy only say the word psychometrists if psychometrician and psychometrist were known, established facts in the field, that these are different jobs, that they're different distinctions? Maybe, just maybe, because the dean of the psychological assessment program that I took is aware of the fact that these terms are used interchangeably in the field. Of course, Sunday has no way of knowing this, since he doesn't work in the field. I don't blame anyone for being confused. It's confusing. The field, as it gets regulated, should clarify these terms. Absolutely. It's fair that it's confusing. However, Google is unfortunately not always enough to get a whole picture, especially when it comes down to niche academic figures. Go figure.
Jeez.
It is not appropriate to use the term psychometrist, since there is no category of registration for psychometrists in the province of Alberta. If you are not living in Alberta, you should check with the regulatory body that governs the profession of psychology where you are. There may be specific requirements for the use of this title, e.g. a master's degree, unquote. Now, Kyla does not have a master's degree yet.
Sneaky thing he put in at the end there. As seen in the job postings, the bare minimum requirement for a psychometrician or a psychometrist is certainly not a master's degree, as Sunday wrongly suggested. And as I have established, I very much do meet the requirements for these jobs. If he had any familiarity with honors bachelor's degrees, he would realize this, that they are often accepted in place of a master's degree anyway. But Sunday doesn't appear to be much of an academic.
Oof.
In general.
Oof.
Now, it's extremely important to note something else about Wendy's email. When Wendy was responding to Sunday, she believed she was responding to a student about whether or not they should put psychometrist or psychometrician in their resume when applying for jobs, to which she cautioned to not put psychometrist in your resume with only a graduate diploma in psychological assessment. She goes on to include that in other provinces you should check with regulatory bodies because requirements may differ between provinces. In fact, they do to some extent. And some may have very specific requirements, and one example of that might be a master's degree. This is not evidence that a master's degree would be required, like Sunday is trying to assert at the end of that clip. This is not evidence that a master's degree would be required, like Sunday is trying to assert. It isn't even proof that you can't be a psychometrist in Alberta. It is proof that you shouldn't put psychometrist on your resume if you haven't worked as a psychometrist. That's all. Good thing, before I even entered this program, I worked in the field. I went into the program because I liked the field, and then after my program, I'm still working in the field. Very handy for me.
Oof. Got a lot of oofs going on here, guys.
An undergraduate degree in psychology and a graduate diploma in psychological assessment, which she studied for from September 2020 to September 2021, implying that she began calling herself a psychometrist prior to receiving her graduate diploma and a psychometrician before convocating.
As I had mentioned earlier, before even entering my graduate diploma, I worked with the government of Alberta developing, validating, and first authoring a measure for a whole year. Also, the first time I ever called myself a psychometrician is on Destiny's stream, which is a full 4 months after I convocated in January of 2022.
Moreover, psychometrician is a role with supervisory authority requiring a master's degree at least, and there is no category of registration for psychometrists in Canada, so it is impossible for her to be one of these as well.
This is just not true. As I've already showed, job postings from all across Canada don't seem to make any clear hierarchical distinctions.
According to the Canadian government, a psychometrician is authorized to, quote, develop psychological tests, scales, and measures, and may administer or apply and interpret such tests, scales, and measures, without any mention of a supervisor.
Wow.
Whereas psychometrists merely administer and score psychological tests, usually under the supervision of a registered psychologist.
The Canadian government does not regulate these titles, as I've already explained to you. The text he reads is more like a suggestion from the federal government of how these jobs may be described more than anything else. Sunday instead injects an imaginary word right into the definition. He just throws in the adjective authorized before the description of psychometrician and then the word merely within the description of psychometrist. Here's a timestamp from his transcript where he says, according to the Canadian government, a psychometrician is authorized to, quote, develop psychological tests and scales and may administer or apply and interpret such tests, scales, and measures without mention of a supervisor, whereas psychometrists merely administer. I'm going to show you a screenshot from that timestamp where he reads the words authorized and merely. If you look closely, you'll see there is nothing in psychometricians that mentions anything about authorization or without a supervisor, and there's nothing with psychometrists where it says that they merely administer. The federal government doesn't authorize either of these roles for anything. That just isn't their jurisdiction. Sunday is developing quite the pattern of inserting words onto the page where they are not present. And why, might you ask? To make my imagined ethical breaches greater. Here's another example.
Both a licensed psychometrist and a graduate diploma in psychological assessment, as if these are separate things.
Let's listen to that again. Pay attention to the fact that it says a licensed addictions counselor, psychometrist, and what he says.
Okay.
Both a licensed psychometrist and a graduate diploma in psychological assessment.
Sunday misreads my qualification as licensed psychometrist. Despite the page itself not saying this. You can't be a registered psychometrist in Alberta because there is no governing body to which you can be licensed. I cannot be a licensed psychometrist in Alberta.
Damn.
It's not possible.
Yikes.
Sunday just tacks on licensed before psychometrician in my disclaimer on the mental health page. He's making these embellishments
Yikes.
to underscore just how serious my supposed infractions are.
Fam.
Which in turn justifies the severity with which he levies these accusations.
Bruv.
Sunday spins the compelling narrative of my supposed credential exaggeration, and he relies on these deceptive little varnishes to sell the story to you.
Now, Kyla may well have co-authored what she has called an in-house youth addictions measure, whatever that is. She has not, to my knowledge, made its name public, and I have been unable to find any reference to it, or to her for that matter, on any public record.
My work, it speaks for itself. I already showed it. I'm not going
does
to show
it?
you all the details. It is an in-house measure. I don't want to disseminate it. But as you can see here, I am the first author. Me. And the co-author was my supervisor. As I've said before, this is the PowerPoint that I used to present in front of the Alberta Health Youth Managerial Team to suggest the implementation of this screener. As you can see, the last edit was on January 8th, 2018. If you're wondering, to put that in scope, I was proposing this screener to the team while I was still in school. I was immediately hired after convocating from my undergrad because they were so impressed with the screener and the work I had done up until that point developing it. They hired me then to work on site as an addiction support worker while also part-time completing the screener work. You can't find public record of it because, as I've said, it's an in-house measure used to collect data for Alberta Health Services. And also, I'm married, and I got married after this, which means I have a different last name in my past. Sunday goes on to
Wow, took her husband's last name. Cucked. Yikes.
suggest that it would have been simply impossible for me to have developed the measure myself. Kind of dismisses it and hand waves it like I'm some RA just working in a lab where the measure was developed, because I do not possess a master's degree. I cannot, quote, develop psychological test scales and measures or apply and interpret such test scales and measures. But I have.
Ooh, strawman
I've done
voice
exactly
coming
this.
out.
Let me walk you through what Sunday does not know about my involvement with the measure.
Tell us.
Now, Sunday couldn't know this because he doesn't know much about my work, but
Okay.
instead he presumed.
Okay.
What Sunday doesn't know is that I developed a psychological measure which was administered to clients and to their parents. I then took the data, analyzed it, and used it to test the validity and the reliability of the measure for internal consistency using a split half correlation, followed by determining the Cronbach's alpha of both the youth and
Oh my god, I just realized she's like Ayla, but for psychology instead of sex. Holy shit.
the parent portions of the measure. I then compared the convergent validity of the youth portion to the adult portion. As one would expect, that if technology use was high in the child's day-to-day, both the child and the parent would report as such. I then tested for criteria on validity under the premise that addiction patterns emerged together, comparing my measure scores against validated gambling and substance use scales. Now, since it is possibly evaluating a separate possible addiction, we'd expect to have a positive correlation, but presumably it would not likely have a correlation coefficient higher than 0.6. The work was done internally, and all the data is housed internally. Therefore, I cannot provide any receipts of the data, and even if I could, it would be a massive breach of ethics to do so. Not that you would understand it anyway, Sunday.
Cringe. Ouch. Smashed.
Kyla Turner is not a psychometrician, either by qualification or by special permission, and she doesn't have any piece of paper reading graduate diploma in psychometry or in psychometrics. She can't have one, again, because there is no category for registration for psychometrists in Alberta. Unfortunately, it appears as if she has no right to either of these titles. This does not mean that credentials justify all claims simply. Often, people with even the most prestigious credentials are wrong. Sometimes they may even lie. Sometimes, true claims or even great discoveries are made by people with no credentials against people with the strongest credentials. And sometimes, someone with no credentials pretends to have them in order to make themselves and the claims they make seem more credible than they really are.
Ooh.
Meet Kyla.
Do you still think that I am someone with no credentials, pretending to have them to make myself and the claims that I make more credible than they really are? I'm the real deal, Sunday. Your lack of understanding of my undergraduate degree, my graduate diploma, or my field is not an indictment on me. Stop weaponizing your ignorance. I tried to clear this with you before, in good faith, in our DMs, which you showed on screen. This is how you gained access to all of this personal information that you have now disseminated. Gosh, like if you had...
Bro, I'm sorry, I didn't know this. I think I learned this like a year ago. Some woman explained something to me, and I realized I totally do this. Have you ever heard of the term weaponized ignorance? I never heard of this before. I think she mentioned like, oh, like one of the most annoying things in some relationships is like sometimes men and women will weaponize ignorance. And I'm like, weaponize ignorance? What does that mean? And she's like, well, it's kind of like when a woman is like, she just doesn't want to learn how to drive so that she can always use it as an excuse to like not drive anywhere. Or like when a guy will be like, oh, I don't know how to do this thing, so I can't do it, or I'll just mess it up or whatever. And I hadn't heard that term. I think it was like a year ago I learned this term. So I was like, oh shit, dude. I used to do that all the time. Like if you ask me like, to like do some fucking things like, oh, I can't do that, I'll probably break it, good luck. I do that with Mel actually with the TV and the remote. I don't know how to work my TV, and Mel's like, oh, can you turn on The Last of Us? I'm like, Mel, it's too complicated. I'm gonna mess it up, I'll do the wrong thing, and then sometimes I'll even fuck it up intentionally. I'll be like, Oh, I broke it again. Here you go.
I just tried to work with me rather than jumping to these insane conclusions. I would have been willing to just show you all of this back in October of 2022. I'm transparent. I have nothing to hide. I just didn't want to have all of my personal information thrown out onto the internet and into circulation. You decided to go against all of those wishes, and after the fact, refused to even try to mitigate them, and mock people for attempting to do so.
Ooh.
Here's a Twitter thread from after you released the video, and after I DM'd you privately, asking you to take down just my personal identifying information.
Ooh.
Somebody, named Sick Unchained, decided, very, very kindly, to make another version of Sunday's critique of me, but just omitted all of my personal information. This was your response. The brain-dead idiots who censored Alberta out of my video on NotSoErudite's blatant credential fraud.
Oof.
You didn't just release Alberta, and they didn't just censor Alberta. You, Darvowing, Denning-Kruger dunce, you're fucked. They also censored Concordia of Edmonton and Kyla's name, all of which I only knew because she went out of her way to make it public in the course of promoting her work.
Darvo.
Audience continues to demonstrate a total lack of discernment I've come to expect.
Any other
You mean
Darvers
all of
in the
those things that
chat?
were in no way linked to her internet persona, and you only had access to through private DMs, all of which you published despite an
Someone's donated $10. Said this whole conversation validates the title software engineer.
expressed interest to keep it private? If I find your street address on the government registry and publish it, what is that? She declared the work to be hers, under the internet persona. I didn't publish her address or any registry she might have, and even if I was so inclined, and I'm not, I couldn't. Once again, I only know what she made public under her current brand name. Thanks for playing. Your reading comprehension is inversely proportional to your arrogance. The street address bit was an analogy to show you that you can find publicly available information, publish it, and still have it be an attempt to dox, which is what you are, a doxer. Ignorance is not absolution. Kyla's personal info, city, university, last name, were not circulating. They were locatable. To be clear, I'm not actually accusing him of doxing me. I do know, though, that he released a lot of information that was in no way related to his argument. He could have made all the same critiques without saying my last name 4 times, the city that my university is in 5 times, or the name of my university 4 times. His argument would have been just as salient without any of that information, yet he went out of his way constantly to say those names.
How is there
Which means
still
that not
40
only
minutes
is she
left
using
of
her
this?
platform to
No
abuse people's
shot.
trust and spread dangerous misinformation. She is also a textbook case of credential fraud.
In closing, I have not falsified any of my credentials. I have not abused anyone's trust with my platform, and I have not spread dangerous information. In fact, you're the one who has. You spread misinformation about me. You abused my trust. You abused the trust of your viewers, and you published my personal information against my express request in what at this point I can only see as an attempt at a malicious attack to not only discredit me online, but to destroy my professional career.
Emergency edit.
I am sorry to have to throw this in here last minute. President Sunday has now walked back many of his original claims in a new video after getting pieced up on Twitter by our friendly neighborhood self-described lawyer, Pisco. So I'll address this really quickly.
Holy shit. Get your umbrellas and buckets. It is raining piss. Oh my god.
So there's no questions.
Indeed claim that she has worked as a psychometrician in the past. She has produced no evidence of this, but let's take her at her word. This does not justify the additional claim that this is her highest level of training, as this specifies her education, not a vocation she happened to have at some point. If indeed she was temporarily employed in the role of a psychometrician, de facto or by name, and again she has acknowledged the distinctiveness of the roles psychometrician and psychometrist, this would make it appropriate to say she has worked as a psychometrician in the past. She is not one presently, since she claims to be presently employed as a psychometrist, which is a different role, again, as per her acknowledgement. These are her distinctions.
Would you levy the same accusation against a marine biologist? If you're between working as a marine biologist and studying the skills to make you better at being a marine biologist, are you suddenly just not a marine biologist? Is this credential fraud? If you're a scientist and you're no longer currently working in a lab or conducting a study, are you no longer a scientist? If you once worked as a political scientist and have since retired, are you no longer a political scientist? Regarding the first claim, Claim A, working temporarily as a psychometrician in the past does not justify calling yourself one presently. I don't know if you don't realize this, Sunday. All jobs are temporary. My education is in the direction of psychometrics. In my undergrad, I took multiple courses in high-level stats and psychometrics. I developed a psychometric after school for the government. Then I went back to school to further specialize in psychometrics, and now I work in psychometrics again. Is this just your whole argument now? And I just couldn't call myself one in the gap between? Is that your bar for textbook credential fraud? For the second claim you made there, calling something your highest level of training specifies education, not vocation. Job training is training. For your third comment, my distinctions between psychometrist and psychometrician prove that they are different roles. Let's just go back to the APA. Psychometrician, an individual with theoretical knowledge of measurement techniques, qualified to develop, evaluate, and prove psychological tests, and 2, an individual who is trained to administer these tests, also called a psychometrist. You're right. I'll try harder to not cater to people pedantically throwing dictionary definitions at me.
Ooh.
I will listen to you next time. Lesson learned. The funny thing is basically most.
Holy shit! I gotta grab my bucket.
Yo, what's up? I'll be real quick.
Yeah, what's up?
How you doing?
Pretty good. Just chilling.
Very quick stuff on Sunday. I really do want to take a moment here because I know that you have a bigger audience, but to like really strongly condemn what Sunday has done. Sunday, if you're listening, which I think you might be, you have an obligation to delete those 2 videos that you've made because you made 2 videos.
Wow.
At the end of this video, this Erudite video, it is, nothing about implication, nothing about credential fraud or your misunderstanding of what's required for a psychometrician or psychometrist. None of that. You blanketly make a demonstrably incorrect statement about the kind of work that was done in the mental health initiative. It's wrong. There's videos that Erudite provides that show you that content was produced for that initiative. You need to take down those videos. Those videos say that no work was produced. That is a lie. And so if you have any scruples whatsoever, on that basis alone, you need to delete those and remove those videos and put a correction. Because you wouldn't like it if someone came to you and said, you didn't do work that you actually did. But I don't think you will, because I think this guy's insane.
Yeah, he's pretty crazy. I've joked he's like her own little Mr. Girl kind of.
I think he's the dumbest person I've ever seen you interact with, and I'm including no bullshit.
Not even close.
No. He is. This guy didn't even Google anything about these titles. The guy's own videos contradict itself. He emails this professor who doesn't provide any evidence for his position, and the professor doesn't do any due diligence. The professor emails back Erudite and contradicts everything that Sunday said. Sunday provides a link to a government definition, doesn't describe what that definition is on the government website. The government website itself also seems to imply that political scientists, when they're claiming their titles, typically have master's degrees. It's a mess. I mean, this guy's smart.
Yeah, I think he is kind of a smart dude. I think he's, but I think he's just, I don't know. He seems like he
has a deep voice.
No, he seems like he can be reasonably intelligent. I've had reasonably intelligent conversations with him. I think he's super bad faith. He is just super
he is an
super
idiot. Smart people do their homework. Smart people don't say things without evidence. He says that you need a master's degree to be a psychometrician. He says that. He says you need a piece of paper to be a particular formal certificate to be a psychometrist or a psychometrician. He has no support for any of that.
Do you really think he's as dumb as the no bullshit?
Yeah, I do. I think he's dumber.
Wow. Okay.
But anyway, that's all I have to say. And really, shame on you, Sunday. You need to take down those videos.
Damn.
If for anything, just for accusing someone of not doing work that they did. You really have to. And I'm saying this, I would tell you that it's probably a good idea for your own benefit that you should do it.
Wow. All right. Okay. Well.
Yeah.
Stay safe, bud.
Yeah, stay safe.
Most of my trouble has come from trying to be good faith with you and other people who were confused about what was going on. You got my private info because I DM'd you to assuage your initial concerns about my credentials, and I started separating psychometrist and psychometrician because you showed me the dictionary definitions which conflicted with my experience in the field. I gave you the benefit of the doubt and presumed that even though you have less authority in my field, perhaps you were right. But you weren't. You weaponized your ignorance, and I should have never, ever listened to you.
Wow.
Where is it? Where's the rest? The money, Skylar. Where is the rest?
I gave it to Ted.
Where is the money?
Now, I'm not going to say that Kyla Turner defrauded the Canadian government in a time of crisis, possibly using resources intended for pandemic relief to pursue a glamorous online career as a Twitch streamer, and I'm sure the unnamed staff at this company, which Kyla claims to be the founder and the director of, is solely at fault for not a single one of the promised resources ever materializing, despite mental health being apparently so near completion that Kyla was personally promoting it as being ready to launch in the same month. And I am positive that it is a complete coincidence that mental health disappeared from the face of the earth at precisely the moment she found internet success on YouTube and Twitch. Pisco claims I imply in my video that Kyla, quote, did fraud of government and embezzlement, unquote. This is odd for 2 reasons. First, I explicitly state in my video that I am not accusing Kyla of defrauding the government. Now, I'm not going to say that Kyla Turner defrauded the Canadian government in a time of crisis, possibly using resources intended for pandemic relief to pursue a glamorous online career as a Twitch
True,
streamer.
he didn't say that.
So to claim I
He
am
got
implying
her.
the opposite of what I state
He
explicitly
did.
is a
He did
bizarre
get her
point to
there.
make.
Is this the tone of someone who isn't saying, I defrauded the Canadian government in a time of crisis, possibly using resources intended for pandemic relief to pursue a glamorous...
Uh-oh.
Yo, you there?
Yeah.
Okay, just for this part, this part real quick. He goes on and says that he's not implying that Sunday, that Erudite did like a embezzlement or fraud, but he does this entire diatribe saying like, well, I'm not saying that Erudite, defrauded the Canadian government. I would never say that. And I'm not saying that she used all those resources for herself to pursue a glamorous thing, a streaming career.
He
And
did
I'm not
say
saying
that,
that it's totally
indeed, yeah.
random, and I'm not
Problem.
doing this. And then he inserts a cough, like at the end of it, and then goes on Twitter and is like, but I said I didn't say that.
I mean,
Like,
he didn't,
dude.
right?
Yeah, good chat. All right, that's it. But like, that's the lengths that what he thinks people are so dumb that he can do these little cute things and say like, but I said the opposite of what everyone knows exactly what I'm implying. I don't think smart people. I think smart people have an expectation that their audience are like reasonable people too. And so yeah, that's my last comment. Have a good night.
Be careful, babe.
career online as a Twitch streamer. No. Any reasonable person watching your video and accepting your claims about me would come away with the conclusion that I certainly defrauded the government.
Ooh.
Which you further evidence by describing the steps that would detail someone embezzling money from the government grant to pursue a glamorous career online as a Twitch streamer. I'm so glad that you're incredibly generous, good faith, and charitable in this hit piece on me. You wouldn't possibly want to imply any serious crimes against me, would you? No.
In the wake of the ongoing COVID pandemic, the Alberta government provided a one-time grant funding of up to $25 million in the years 2020 to 2021 for eligible projects and services to enhance community mental health and addiction recovery supports and services. Kyla won this grant to create mental help.
In this clip, Sunday is trying to play off this figure of $25 million with no additional context other than my supposed willingness to lie, fraud, and weave intricate webs to justify my own selfish desire for wealth and prestige.
And?
Now, I have to wonder if Sunday wants to be so careful as to not imply any of these insidious accusations of me. Why doesn't he scroll down that page to show that, for example, more than 200 organizations received funding through this grant and all recipients have been notified?
I am that you write anything if not thorough.
Now, it is particularly interesting that Sunday does not include this fact, considering that you know that he must have seen it. You can see the hyperlink has been used for outcomes. It takes you directly to where this information was found. President Sunday, how am I supposed to believe you were unaware of this? You were so thorough, after all. Thorough enough to click the link, and sure thorough enough to have read the information present on the page. And yet, you leave it out. I did not win this grant. The company I applied for the grant with did. In fact, Sunday, if you just listened to the clip in your own video essay, you would have known that.
And so during COVID, we heard about this COVID grant that the government was giving out, kind of predicting that there would be a mental health crisis around COVID. And so just the CEO of Adira approached a couple of us staff and was like, anyone got ideas? We can maybe make a secondary program. And I put forward the idea of mental health. It wasn't named anything then, but I was just like, well, we could do this. It's a little bit based out of what I did actually my undergrad thesis on, which is like the research that I did. And we were lucky enough to be selected by the government to run the program for a year.
For those uncertain, the government would not grant large sums of money, particularly millions of dollars, to just an individual. This grant required you to be an organization. So you'll see, more than 200 organizations received funding through this grant program. All recipients have been notified. It's also interesting to take note how he implied that I won the $25 million, which again, a simple scroll would have revealed that again, 200 organizations received funding. Also, take note that as he scrolls onto the webpage, you can see the outcomes section is purple. I'm going to touch on that again later.
Ooh. Yikes.
Despite Kyla claiming herself in September 2021 that the full program will be available within that same month.
Our full program is going to be available September of 2021.
None of the aforementioned resources have materialized. In any case, the mental health website is, as of right now, defunct. Not a single in-person seminar has taken place. No booklets have been released.
Are you sure about that, Sunday? There's probably a couple of things to note. Number one, the in-person seminars did take place. In fact, many assets were created and released. Here is the Instagram of the program, which is still active, by the way. You can see on here, you can't see very closely because it's zoomed out, these are all promotions of in-person talks, and these are promotions of upcoming videos. You can also check out the old TikTok. It's also still live, and on it, you can see a similar pattern. Here, we have a promotion for, again, an upcoming video release. You can also see that we were still creating TikTok content, which was part of the assets we tried to deliver.
Uh-oh.
The in-person seminars did take place. Assets were created.
Uh-oh.
Here's the Instagram, where we note promotions for in-person talks and promotions for upcoming videos. Here's the TikTok, which is also still live. This is a promotion for, again, an upcoming video. These are just videos released on TikTok, which was part of the assets meant to help deliver. For someone who claims
I am that you write anything if not thorough.
you sure weren't thorough here. In fact, if you had bothered to search for the TikTok, you would have seen promotions of the release of that video, depression. And if you had gone to my Instagram, you would have found videos and promotions of my public speaking. Let's watch them together.
Bam! Shake your head. You just wear like sweats and it'd be amazing. Plus, if you don't want to go to work, you can like call in. And, like,
Oh my god, rare erudite lore.
So I go to work and avoid the 3 things more. So maybe it'll start with being like, well, you know, maybe I just won't go to like larger events where lots and lots of people. I'll just go to like smaller events with like 14 max people. I'm comfortable with that size group. And then maybe it grows, right? Maybe in a group of 14, you still sense some rejection. Maybe it's not even there because part of what happens in anxiety is it taints your view, right? You assume the cracking stick behind your back is there, even if it's not, right? So somebody might look at you and like drop their eyebrows, and you might assume would be like, oh, I said something weird, they think I'm weird. When like in all reality, they might be like literally being like ADHD, be like, I wonder why the Kool-Aid, is the Kool-Aid man the juice, or is he the jar, right? Like who knows what they're thinking about? But you see the eyebrows drop and you're like, oh, they're judging me, right?
Certainly judging you. And in case some inclined individual tries to claim that the release was fake, here are comments on the Instagram page about the release of episode 1. This was a great listen. Have to say, I thought the skeleton was a distraction, but I guess that makes sense given why I was drawn to the video in the first place. Haha, ADHD joke. Awesome job, Kyla. Such concise and easy to understand information. Great work, passing the video on to friends and family. Thank you.
Wow.
So what did happen to our program?
Yikes.
Well, we did launch in September 28th, 2021. Here's the launch. Adult ADHD, September 28th, 2021. Here's our second video on October 12th, 2021. Here's our third video, Stages of Addiction. Here's our fourth video. Here's our fifth video. Here's our sixth video.
Anybody else cringing right now for President Sunday? Oof.
Here are also photos where I was on scene filming these things. Here's what happened. Without getting into details or company names, the editing company that we originally hired had delayed the release by more than 7 months, mostly because their artist was really slow in some of the editing processes. After the release began, they agreed to a 2-week release schedule. However, they very quickly fell behind again and could not release swiftly. We decided to cut our losses in December and let that team go. That meant we had to spend the next couple of months finding a new editing team, sending them all of the raw data, collecting the raw data, and then beginning to re-release them again. The problem is that my contract was only for a year. So we talked to the government of Alberta, and they agreed to allow my contract to be extended another 6 months, and I agreed to a massive salary cut to try to get the program out in the next 6 months. By March 7th, 2022, my company had hired a new team to re-edit our videos so that we could launch with a cohesive brand. Now, Sunday probably doesn't believe me as to like why my team wouldn't communicate with me about the release, but they actually did. The problem is that the release took so long with the new editing team as well that my extra 6 months of work was up. So I agreed to be on volunteer to help them still edit the videos. And in September, they contacted me with a new release schedule that they had planned. Hey team, including Kyla, who's doing the final review of videos for us. September 8th, 2022. We are planning a September 26th.
Damn, why would you do a video like President Sundays without actually knowing 100%? Doesn't seem kind of, doesn't seem a little dumb? Or like, it seems like a pretty big risk. Like, maybe she didn't actually do any of this shit. And I'm just gonna like assume that she just like totally fucking lied about all of it. Why would you do that? I mean, I guess I give him props for being ballsy. I mean, you gotta be pretty brave at least. Like,
of the new mental health videos. Our first will be What is Addiction, followed by a weekly release and each Monday until all 13 videos have been released, December 19th. The YouTube campaign will end by December 26th. Here's the schedule of videos released. Please let me know if you have any other comments on the schedule. Some might know, but you promised 18. Correct. But when you have to cut your losses and hire a new team, we didn't actually even get to film the last couple of videos. The last 5 videos, we just never got a chance to film, and we needed the money we would have paid them for those 5 videos to pay a new editing team. So we had to cut our losses and accept only 13. And in case you're wondering, my former company is still working on these. The issue is they've had a whole bunch of recent resignations, they've had some people retire, and the girl who was heading up the program after me went on mat leave. However, I just checked the editing software that they talk on, that I still have access to because I still help them. And if you look here closely, this is a video still in editing. We are commenting on the video 2 weeks ago. It's still in process. And I agree, things have been incredibly tardy with the release, and there has been repeated problems that have slowed down and delayed the release. And I agree that it's a problem. The issue is that at this point, the leadership of Mental Health has changed hands. Mental Health got absorbed back into the mother company. It is no longer called Mental Health, and is going to be the mother company that releases these videos under their own branding. This project, at a recovery center with active clients, with no technical due date, has just been left on low priority. There's nothing I can do about it. I was contracted for a time, and now I am not. Some people, since the drop of Sunday's video, have tried to argue that since I was part of the leadership team as the head of the program, I am still personally responsible for the assets not being delivered. This is ridiculous for multiple reasons. Number one, I was an independent contractor. This is my contract agreement. In it, you will see that I am exclusively hired for service, which means everything else belongs to my mother company.
Oh my God.
The second reason this is ridiculous is because even if I was an employee and not a contractor, if my employment ends, I am not responsible for the assets after I leave. This is how every job works. If I hand it off to a new employee who is taking over the role, which in this case was the communications director at the company, I'm not responsible. I don't own the assets. There is nothing I can do. Even if I wanted to, I can't force this company to release the video. They are not my videos. They are the company's. When you terminate your work at a company, your responsibilities end and are typically transferred to your replacement. That's what's happened. I am not responsible for the videos not being released. This next section is going to be pretty boring. I'm just mostly triangulating dates about when I started making videos versus Sunday's claims that I was making videos on NotSoErudite for years and then blah, 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 all that stuff. It's boring unless you want the fine details. So either skip ahead if you'd like, or if you want to go through all the stuff, you're welcome to. I had to include it because I didn't want it to appear like I'm being dishonest in any way.
Despite creating video content for years for the NotSoErudite channels, quite possibly facilitated by equipment purchased with the grant money, Kyla has not released any video content for mental help to date.
As established, I did deliver. The rest of this claim is absurd, okay? Simple web sleuthing can verify all of this. My YouTube account wasn't even created until May of 2021. So this idea that I've been making NotSoErudite videos for years is just not true. Just haven't been. My first stream was January 26th, right? If you look, for example, at my first post on YouTube.
Wait, is that January 26th of last year or 2021? Have we only known her for 1 year? Dude, why did last year feel so long? I feel like we did so much shit on stream. I got banned from Twitch last year. Jesus.
First post was January 12th, 2022, which was taking a TikTok debate and making it live. My first TikTok personal video was October 11th, 2021. There's the link for my first personal NotSoErudite video. This is my first TikTok.
Even look in my direction with their stupid man eyes is getting knocked the out.
Can someone remind me why we think that this is appropriate, or that we like act like this is some like...
You will notice that I continue my project work after this date of October 11th. For example, November 29th, 2021 is what? Yes, another video release after my first personal TikTok. I also posted on my works account on the same day that I first posted on my personal TikTok. This is from Mental Health. Pop psychology is TikTok's favorite kind of thing. Mental Health Adira, October 11th, 2021. In fact, if you go to the TikTok with the post that was made on the exact same day that I posted my first personal private TikTok, October 11th, if you go there, you will see October 11th was the post. I continue to post for weeks. My last published TikTok on mental health was December 21st, 2021.
Okay, here's a question. Okay, so I figured this out, okay? I learned this. I learned this also from women, okay? I learned a lot of horrible things. I learned, so sometimes I ask women, I'm like, one finally told me this. I think this happened 2 weeks ago. One finally told me this. I was like, why do all of you with beautiful brunette hair, why do you dye your hair blonde? Why do you bleach it? Why do you all bleach your beautiful hair? Because it's so much nicer. Just have blonde hair, or have brunette hair, okay? Why would you bleach it, these ugly blonde colors, okay? And one finally told me last night, oh, usually women that bleach their hair don't actually have nice chestnut brunette hair. They have really ugly blonde hair like you. And I was like, excuse me? Apparently, they didn't say it that harshly, but they were like, apparently women with dirty blonde hair, which is kind of mine, it's like kind of brown, but not really. It's just like dark blonde or lightish brown. It's not like the deep, like chestnut brown. Apparently those girls are more likely to bleach their hair. So now my question is does anyone have a picture of a girl with like my color hair that doesn't bleach it? Does it actually look that bad? Because now I'm trying to think of, I don't know if I know any girls that have dark like hair that's like my color that haven't like re-dyed it or re-bleached it or something. It's fucking brown. You have no blonde whatsoever. So people with this hair color, well, this is blue. People with my old hair color, what happens is typically you grow up very blonde. Like if you see pictures of Nathan, that's my hair color growing up. And then when you get like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, your hair starts to darken a bit. And then it darkens to like this color brown, but it's not the same as somebody that's had brown hair their whole life. It's a different color. And that's what's referred to as dirty blonde, I think. I think today you'd probably just call my hair brown, but like it was dirty blonde in my teenage years and then it changes growing up or whatever. I know what you're, yeah. So I'm curious if there are girls with just normal like brown hair that's not like the nice. Is what I'm saying making sense at all? Forget everything I just said. I don't care. I need to sleep soon. Here. The moral of the story is stop bleaching your fucking hair, okay? There's a brunette genocide going on, and nobody's talking about it, and it's driving me crazy, all right?
The reason that we stopped posting on TikTok at all after December 21st is because my hours and salary were cut, and therefore we couldn't really justify me taking on these.
Is it true that some people's hair gets blonde in the sun and darker in the winter? My guess is going to be that no, that when things get... My guess is going to be if something gets brightened by the sun, there's like some... Is it it's not oxidation, but there's like there's some process there that is irreversible. That'd be my guess, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Everyone in chat is saying yes, it does. Oh, maybe it's not the case then. I would have imagined that anything getting blasted by the sun that changes color isn't going to change back, but maybe it does change back. Will your hair darken in the winter? Just like your strands get lighter during the summer months, you may notice they become progressively darker during the fall and winter. What is this? We tend to spend less time outdoors, cause hair to revert to its naturally darker shade. Oh, well, why does hair lighten in sunlight? Sun bleaches out the melanin in hair, which causes it to become lighter. It might seem strange to sunlight's tan skin. This is because skin is aligned. Oh, it does oxidize the hair. Wait, so then how the fuck does it regain color? Wait. That's like saying you don't lose your tan ever, Destiny retard. No, you're the fucking retard. Your hair is dead, bro. Once it's gone out of your scalp, I don't think your body can maintain the fucking hair. You constantly grow hair? Okay, then your hair doesn't change back. That doesn't mean your hair doesn't darken in the winter then. You fucking gym-flared, roid-headed fucking dipshit. That just means that you get new fucking hair. That's like saying that like, oh, Destiny, your hair's like changing back to brown. Kind of, but not really. I'm growing new brown hair. My blue hair isn't changing to brown. That's new hair coming in. It does change back? Your hair constantly grows? Well, but then the hair isn't really changing. You're just getting new hair. Okay. Stop. Now you're all... okay, never mind. You're triggering the fuck out of me.
These additional responsibilities that I had to take over when my first social media manager quit back in like August. You also notice that the first stream I had with Steven was January 26th, 2022. I haven't been streaming for years. My work in mental health opened me up to considering doing online ventures that I just never really thought about doing before. Before mental health, I was strictly academic and clinical in all of my work experience. I didn't really even have a personal Instagram that I updated like once every like 8 months. My Facebook was basically also not very functional. I put way more work into the mental health TikTok by itself. You can tell by the production quality. The problem with TikTok and companies is that companies don't want to get spicy. They want you to sanitize.
Would you say your hair changed since you were a kid? Yes. How do you guys know that? Haven't you guys doxed my baby pictures or some shit? Hold on. Everybody's saying that you can't call it dirty blonde now. Maybe it was dirty blonde when I was younger and now it's just brown, but I don't think my hair color is brown in the same way that like a person's hair would be brown if it was brown their whole life. I think it's different. Hold on. What is this picture? Why am I tagged as Destiny? I don't even know who these random people on Facebook are. Actual f***ing virgin. You wouldn't call this brown, would you? You look like Nathan? Yeah, no shit. We have the same fucking genetic material. Your hair didn't change, you just got new hair. True. God, I was such a dweeby loser. Fuck. When I was 14. And then I chatted out when I was like 16. What happened? Oh my God. Hold on, I'm trying to find my hair color. Oh, holy shit. I didn't even know this fucking picture existed. Oh, I haven't even seen these before. Dude, I look like I'm... That's my Mexican buddy that killed himself. Based. I'm pretty sure my hair is brown at this point. Or... right? I'm pretty sure I would call that brown. But it was a lot lighter growing up. Did I ever tell... Hold on. God, I was such a... No, I wasn't really a loser. I was okay. I did okay. Did I ever tell you the story of this cult? This is my wife. Oh, my first wife. She shaved her head. And I think they donated a Locks of Love, her and her classmates. I think I told the story of how we got... Like, this cult tried to draft us or whatever. Oh my God. Holy yikes. I don't have very many. We didn't have very many pictures. I wonder what these pictures we've been taken with. They must have been a digital camera, huh? These were taken, because these were taken in 2007. What was the cult? It was just some group. Some girl came up to me and my wife on the college campus, and they just asked us if we wanted to like hang out, and we ended up going to this house, and there were people playing music and talking, and then we all went out to the back, and some guy that was like their leader like started giving a big speech, and then me and realized that we did not need to be there. We did not need to be at wherever the fuck. Why are they so out of order? Okay. Retell the story? That was the story. There's not much else to say, okay. Do you ever have like a line or two that you remember so specifically, like even at really early ages? I remember standing in the waiting room after my mom gave birth to my sister. I was 3 years old in this picture. I very specifically remember asking Dad, because it took a while before we could go in to see my mom. I remember asking my dad, why can't we go in and see Mom? And Dad said, well, they have to put her back together after delivering your baby sister. And I remember thinking at that age that they were like, that after my sister was born, they must have had like puzzle pieces. Like when the baby comes out, like the mom's stomach breaks, and they put together like puzzle pieces to like put her back. I remember having that thought in my head forever. I guess I still have that thought in my head. Who takes pictures like this? It's so dramatic. I should have had... It's too late now. Fucking Nathan. I should have had pictures like this taken of Nathan. Why would you take a picture? This is so funny. This must have been in what, 90? This must have been 90. How old am I here? Probably less than a year old? So this would have been 89? I don't know why they do pictures like this. It's so weird. It's so dramatic. It's so unnecessary. I think I had this as one of my Tinder pictures for a while when I was in California. It worked, okay? This is my grandma that murdered all the dogs. Very based. Oh, holy shit. I don't know if this was me or Nathan. This is Nathan. Oh, this is me from with my other grandma, the Spanish-speaking one. All right. Crazy. Dude, way back in the day, are there any old fans? I used to be able to, because they're so fucking tiny when they come out. I think I used to be able to play StarCraft. If I would position the blanket right, I could just put Nathan on my like chest, and I think I could still play like that. I don't remember if I ever streamed like this or not, though. I think I did. Did I ever stream with Nathan sleeping on me? I think. I wonder if I was streaming yet. Yeah, I must have, because I started streaming before Nathan was born. Like very, 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 like right before. It was a few months early, I think. I'd be such a tiny human as an adult. Bro, I weighed like 105 pounds out of college. I was a fucking micro man. Okay, all right. We're done with this. Oh my god, this was the legendary... I told you guys the Killer Queen story or whatever, right? Oh my god. It was so good. Fuck, this is so long ago. I dated there was a Japanese girl that I dated for like a year, long distance, which was kind of weird. She was cool. But we kind of dated for a year, and then it was long distance. We were way different stages in life, didn't date, stopped. And then I think I started, what happened? Okay. What happened? I went to Seattle to hang out with Bad Bunny. And in the course of that, we pick up my my ex to hang out with as well. I don't know why, but we did. So I think the three of us go to... There is an arcade. And in this arcade, we walk around and like play random games for a while. And in this arcade, there was this game called, I think it was Killer Queen. Does this sound like a real game? Killer Queen Arcade. Or maybe it was Killer Bee. Oh no, it was this fucking game. So, we go to play this game, and I think the two girls are playing, and I'm like somewhere else. And there's some guy there that's like, I guess like spends too much time in the arcade. You've talked about this on stream. Yeah, I have. That's why I asked if you remembered me talking about it. You retarded, dipshit, deaf motherfucker. Yes, I've told the story on stream before. Good job. Everybody give a round of applause to Flesh Gordon. Congratulations. Good job, Flesh Gordon. You kept cucking. Okay, yeah, never mind. You've all heard this story before. All right. Apparently, President Sunday released a new video. Statement concerning NotSoErudite and my forthcoming reply. Finish the story? Oh, well, it sounded like everybody heard it before, okay? I'm inside. Well, now I'm worried that I'm going to tell it differently, because it's been a long time, okay? It was a long time ago. But basically, I think they're playing some game, and there's some guy that is like clearly like the fucking, he's like the Chad of like the nerds. He's like the Chad of the nerds, and he's like playing, I think he's playing both of them in this Killer Queen game, and he's crushing them. Okay, he's like, I guess he's pretty good at this game, but he's not like exceptional. He's not like a pro gamer or anything. Okay, and I come up obviously, and I think I'm like, oh, like these are my friends, you know, chatting out because I'm younger. Okay, I was like 27 or some stupid shit, so obviously a child. Okay, and the guy's like, oh yeah, this is like Killer Queen, and it's a pretty, the way the game plays is like pretty obvious. It's not like a super intricate game. It doesn't seem like it. I think you choose like, I think one of like 2 or 3 roles, and you either kill or like try to detect like beeswax or some shit. And so we're all chatting or whatever for a little bit. He's like, oh, like you should play or whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, like okay, let's do it. Like, what are the teams? And he's like, do you have any background experience playing games? So I'm like, no. I think I say I play like soccer or something. I'm like, no, I'm like, you know, I just like, I do sports outdoor stuff. I say some shit like that. And he's like, oh, okay. And he's like, well, we should probably do like 3-on-1. Like all 3 of you guys play versus me because I'm pretty good. And I'm like, okay, let's do that. So I act like a fucking retard, and I just absolutely fucking crush this guy. I just completely shit in this guy's entire existence. And it was so awkward after the first win. He's like, because it wasn't that hard. And I guess for as much as he brags, he must not have spent that much time in the arcade. But he's like, oh wow, like, you know, okay, yeah, I guess you must, yeah, you're pretty good, I guess, or you must have played some arcade games. But I was like, oh no, you know, I don't really play these like nerdy things as much. You know, I just like hang out outside. These 2 wanted to come here, whatever. And I think it was like 3 games. And after the 3rd one, he just walked away. He just walked away. But I think in his head, I think he saw it. He had this whole fantasy of like destroying me in front of these like 2 girls that I think he had like this whole thing played out where it was his time to shine, and he just got absolutely fucking obliterated on this stupid Killer Queen game. I'm sorry. It was just, Bad Bunny will confirm that story if she ever talks to him again. But God, what a hilarious fucking ordeal. Okay, sorry, back to this.
Everything, and anything that's remotely possibly controversial, they nix it. And the problem is, non-controversial TikToks are really hard to get trending. In fact, the main reason I started my personal TikTok was to experiment to figure out how to make the mental health TikTok do better. That's why I started it. The problem is that the only stuff that took off was if I like swore or said something controversial.
What was the point about telling us the Japanese girl? Oh, it was because it was with Bad Bunny. It was with that Japanese girl. I guess you don't really need to know that, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we created it in Cell. I'm sorry. There was those 2 people. I don't know why. You didn't need the whole backstory on her, I guess.
An uncharitable observer might remark that this was right before she started seeing success on TikTok and received a massive boost in exposure by connecting with the very large channel Destiny on YouTube.
As it's been established, I didn't drop mental health at all. My contract ended and the work wasn't finished because of multiple production delays that we had, that to be honest in projects like this are somewhat common. Also, I did not begin my streaming career immediately after dropping mental health, but continue to do both of these things until the end date of my contract in May 7th, 2022. Here is the official contract agreement and its agreed end date.
Erudite seems like one of those people that's just like, she's like boringly professional. Like, I could just never imagine making a hit piece on her. Like, I feel like I could be like, oh, like Erudite, like you cheated on your husband on like September 27th, and I'm gonna fucking prove it. And then she's just like, oh, well, actually on September 27th, I had a hair appointment, and my hair appointment lady actually sends me a Google Calendar invite, and we get a notary to sign off on that, and both my parents were witnesses. So no, like, she just seems like that kind of person. I'd be like, okay, oh yeah, I'm not gonna make shit up about you. Fuck you. All right.
Contractor.
She's just like she just comes off as like such a bad target to try to like go in on, like, well, maybe she actually just fucked a whole bunch of shit up, and I'm just gonna shoot this one in the dark and hope I hit something. She's just like such a, yeah, I don't know, she seems so dumb.
Independent contractor agreement. Kyla. This contract will be valid from this date of agreement signed until May 7th, 2022.
Now, I'm not going to say that Kyla defrauded the Canadian government in a time of crisis, possibly using resources intended for pandemic relief to pursue a glamorous online career as a Twitch streamer.
Glamorous is a bit of a stretch. I don't know if you could exactly call like a 33K YouTube channel glamorous starlet living. But I'm blessed. I'm really lucky to hold the position I have. I'm super lucky that I've been as successful as I have been in just a year. But if I'm gonna be completely clear, if I opted to just work full-time exclusively in my field right now, I would be making almost double what I make right now. And, best part, I wouldn't have to deal with Dunning-Krugers weaponizing their ignorance against me.
It is a complete coincidence that mental health disappeared from the face of the earth at precisely the moment she found internet success on YouTube and Twitch.
I continued to work at mental health for 5 months after speaking to Destiny. I actually have texts from my workplace where I helped them connect to the YouTube account because I had the two-factor authentication on my phone. My old workplace closed the mental health website and the YouTube in September of 2022. I know this. I have the text where I'm giving them the Google verification code.
Wow.
They decided to close this because they wanted to consolidate the program into the mother company and release them not as a separate program, but as an additional source within the main company.
Despite creating video content for years for the NotSoErudite channels, quite possibly facilitated by equipment purchased with the grant money, Kyla has not released any video content for mental help to date.
Wow.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about this embezzling money for my streaming success. Specifically, let's talk about his claim that I maybe used the grant money.
Okay, also, if she used the grant money for shit, okay, I would roast the out of her for this, because if you were going to spend money on a streaming show, why the can you ever get a new microphone or camera until like 6 months into her streaming career? Okay? Jesus.
Me to fund my equipment. Anyone who's watched me for a long time can measurably track my slow, steady improvement of the quality of my streams over time. If you go back to my very earliest content, I held a fundraiser for a computer because before that I was using a computer that was like a belated wedding gift and it was from like 2015. Thank you, by the way, for the gift. Very kind. I also originally used my headset because I didn't have a mic, I didn't have a setup, I didn't even have lights. I just had sunlight, basically. I also later ordered a Blue Yeti, which my editor says is a fucking USB mic because I couldn't afford anything else. It's just easy to track. My quality of streaming steadily improves over time. Only
Hey, heads up. There's nothing wrong with USB mics, okay?
this week, I finally actually got proper lighting systems going on, which is a softbox. And I, before that, used ring lights and wireless outdoor lights because that was the cheapest that I could afford. If I defrauded the Canadian government, I would be an Oscar nominee of making it look like a poor streamer steadily over a year, improving the quality of her stream. Let's go through, just for the sake of transparency, the cost of most of the stuff that I utilize to this day, or in the past. This is the boom arm I'm still using. It's my first boom arm. It's my only boom arm. This is Canadian, $28 Canadian. This is the current mic that I'm using. This is the previous mic that I was using. These are the lighting setups that I just bought like last week. And those are the outdoor floodlights that I used to use instead of the softbox. Remember, he implied that I won up to $25 million. I'm sorry, there's just nothing about my stream that suggests that I have an infusion of even $1 million, even $100,000. Like, I don't know what else to say. I feel like I'd have editors hired and managers. I'd be paying for advertising. I don't know if I'd be at 33K, but maybe he just can't conceive of me being successful in any other way than like through some massive financial investment. And I guess since I got, that amazing infusion of money, I have to say, sorry for all the stream crashes, guy. I couldn't bother paying for fiber optic despite my millions that I had embezzled. Insane. Ridiculous. In this final section, I waffled a lot on what I specifically wanted to do. It's titled Finding Sunday, because I want to talk specifically about the character and behavior that Sunday has displayed throughout the entire process of this ordeal.
Ooh.
But while I want to point out consistent repeated patterns of lying by omission, outright lying, and hiding information that's relevant, I don't want this to just turn into some like petty thing about me pointing out all the ways he said mean things about me. So I'm going to outline an established pattern of behavior because I think this is particularly pertinent if you in any way consider yourself friendly with President Sunday.
Uh-oh.
Most people watching this are probably somewhat warm towards me. It'll be my viewers, people from Centrist, Twitchful, and probably from DGG as well. So I realize that me pointing out how he lied and omitted truths and made baked half-lies in sinister ways to make me sound like this Machiavellian level manipulator. This last section is for the people who are friends with Sunday, because this is the person that you're friends with. I'm not going to campaign that no one be friends with them ever again, but I think it's really important to measure how your friend...
You need to make your music louder in these videos, Kyla. Jesus.
...feels it's okay to treat others that he is deemed ontologically evil.
Liar.
Sunday repeatedly and consistently goes out of his way to omit relevant information that would immediately disprove or at least call into the question that he is trying to sell in the video. I'm going to go through now and give you 3 examples in the video itself where he omitted information knowingly and actively to lie to viewers and to build a nasty, malicious story about me lying about my credentials and defrauding the government.
Uh-oh.
Sunday intentionally used a clipped version of the NOC website. On Sunday's video, he shows you this. What you'll notice immediately is that there is black on either edge. Why? He had more space. He could have included more information. Why did he precisely choose to clip the site right where he did? Let's find out. If you look here, what you'll notice immediately is right where he chose to cut off, it breaks down into a profile. Most interesting, as I've already gone through, is this profile makes it
Ooh, this is
and abundantly clear.
this is a point for me. Okay, hold on. I think I was right. Okay, Piss Corporation. Okay, I don't think he's stupid. He knew what he was doing. He was acting in bad faith. Okay, I was correct. My boy President Sunday is a little malicious fucker here. Okay, I was right.
Fear that these terms, while maybe defined slightly differently up here, are expanded upon identically below. Same education requirements, same workplaces, same occupational options, same exclusionary factors. And interestingly, the exact same job title example given. If psychometricians and psychometrists were so distinct in the field that they do not overlap, why would the government of Canada use the exact same title and the exact same career handbook page to explain both? Sunday excluded these things from you so that you had no question that these were different. He purposely clipped the NOC website with the sole purpose of misleading and omitting information that might cast doubt on his narrative. Sunday was also very deceitful and intentional in how he showed you my deliverable of assets. As he said, he's a thorough guy, which means I don't believe him when he says that he couldn't have found out this information. It means he knew what I'm about to show you.
Uh-oh.
And he chose not to show it anyways. If you went to my Facebook page, which we know that he did, he would have been first greeted by the following information. You go to the mental health site and you see my profile image. This is what you'll be greeted with if you click my professional profile. Mental health program director, a Discord link, and an Instagram. He went and found archived sites of both mental health and my former workplace that he's released. So why didn't he click the Discord or go to the Instagram? Well, he probably did. He just didn't want to show you. Because if he went to the Discord, he would have found this. Right away on the resources page in the mental health Discord is promotions of videos being released. The first video is not the only one posted there. All 6 videos that were eventually released are on that Discord page, as well as other resources and assets that we do. In fact, even on President Sunday's own video, there is a comment here on the mental health page at 1911 on September 28th, 2021, stating, "We have launched." Sunday knew that I delivered on my assets. He knew. It's on his own screen.
Burned.
He chose not to show you. He chose not to give you the evidence because he wanted to build
liar.
a nasty narrative of a woman who lies about her credentials, who defrauds the government, and who is willing to just take for as much as she can possibly get with no regard for others. This isn't me. And he built a narrative on lies, intentional lies, to sell you this idea. Finally, President Sunday omitted information that would prove the embezzling implications false on his own.
This is the exculpatory evidence that they say that they're withholding from the tape prosecution, by the way, guys. Uh-oh.
On screen. At 1542, you see this. Again, you're going to note how wonderfully, perfectly clipped this website is. I've already talked about this. He clipped it because if he showed you any more than what you see there, you would see this is the website that he pulled this from.
Why would he lie if he knew there was evidence to the contrary so easily available? I don't know. I don't know why people do this. This was the same question I had about Fedmeister. That's what he's doing. He's Fedmeistering himself, right? I don't know why people would tell lies like this. This is really dumb.
He makes it appear that he's doing some level of good faith in scrolling through the website. He then again cuts to this image. Why does he do this? Because if you scroll even one more down, you'll immediately see that the 25 million was broken up in not 1, not 2, but into 3 different phases. In phase 1, there was up to 5 million available. Phase 2, 10 million. In phase 3, 10 million. If he had scrolled down even a little bit, it immediately tells viewers that I did not receive a full sum of $25 million, that is impossible, because there was at least 3 breakages of the phases. If you continue to scroll, it comes to the most important point, which is the 200 organizations, which I've already covered, which again tells people, I didn't receive this money alone. I didn't receive $25 million into my bank account. That's ridiculous. In fact, it's absurd to claim. Here's the problem. President Sunday knew this. This is a timestamp of 1445, and on this, as he's scrolling, good faith, to show that he's really looking at this info, you see that the outcome section of this website is purple.
Oof.
That means he saw that there was 200 organizations.
Amateur
he
mistake.
Knew that I alone did not receive this funding, but he told the story in that way anyways, because he wanted to paint a picture of me. Even now, Sunday and his community are collecting a compilation of every case that they have ever heard of me saying the word retarded on my channel. Here's a link from his Discord that was leaked to me. At everyone, whoever wants to help, I need a saved compilation of every case of Kyla using the R slur on her channel. This may be very important after this weekend. Important for what, Sunday? You already knew that you were actively lying about me embezzling money and defrauding the government. You also knew that you were painting a picture that psychometrician and psychometrist were distinct and credentialed, when the information was muddy at best on your end.
Ooh. Hold on, wait. Give me 1 second. Absolutely true.
I'm uncertain to what this Discord post even means. I don't know what this means, but I don't like the implications. It feels a little bit like, even if we're proven wrong, even if her response video shows that I was dishonest, we're still going to come at her. We're still going to go for her job. We're still going to try to destroy her because she's ontologically evil. This is the person some of you are friends with.
Remember how Jack Posebik likes to talk about his experience in the Intel community back of his conspiracy claims? Going to be interesting to argue the Twitter files with him in Austin. Yeah, we'll see. Are you flying at a girl from Kansas City? No, why should I be? They're actually from the University of Iowa. I like to go for the ones that aren't from like the big universities, so.
The person that some of you want to support, that despite him lying about crimes that I have not done, he's still compiling things to get dirt on me to send to who? Why precisely do you need a compilation of me saying the word retard? Why? I'm going to show you a clip now of him talking to Aiko after the panel on Saturday with Destiny and Brianna Wu, where I was brought up. Now, this is not a clear indication of his goal with the compilation of me saying the word retard. However, it suggests to me that he has only malicious intent and probably intends to take this to the end. Remember, Sunday doesn't want to seek truth. Sunday wants to be right. Sunday wants to win.
She doesn't have. I have her making anti-scientific statements. I have her using the reputation she has gained through misrepresenting her credentials to sell mental health services to a vulnerable audience. And I have her most recently making insinuations that she's been trying to dox me in retaliation. Like, actually dox. My information is actually private. I haven't published that online. I have her engaging in grossly inappropriate conduct as a mental health professional endlessly online.
Grossly inappropriate.
The earliest case that I was aware of was when she bafflingly referred to me in her own face as a quote-unquote psychometrician / mental health person who wants to work with children. She referred to me as a retarded child in conversation, which I don't particularly care about, but it's like, whoa, this is a weird thing for you in particular to be saying. Literally anything else but that one. That's a mistake. This is the most clear-cut case I've ever seen.
Seen of what exactly? Of a professional being a human? Of a professional being normal? I imagine it must have been really shocking to you the first time you went to the grocery store and you realized that your teachers didn't just live at school. What purpose does that compilation serve? I suspect nothing good. Regarding his claim of the docs, I knew he was monitoring and clipping things from my Discord after he released his video. I decided to throw him a red herring. I posted this in my general Discord. Whoa, found out something crazy about Sunday's past. Bah, I'm redundantly thorough. Okay. He's taken that to imply that I was intending to dox him. Just so it's very clear, I didn't dig into Sunday's past. I don't care. Now, oh, gracious jury of my peers, I submit before ye my last piece of evidence. I want you to watch how sneaky he is.
There may be specific requirements for the use of this title, e.g., a master's degree, unquote. Now, Kyla does not have a master's degree yet, and she certainly did not have one in 2022, and she certainly did not have one in 2021. So, if Kyla is not a psychometrician or even a psychometrist, why does she claim to be?
Did you catch it? I'm going to play just a couple of seconds from that clip again so you can hear it.
Okay.
There may be specific requirements for the use of this title, e.g., a master's degree, unquote. Now, Kyla does not have a master's degree yet, and she certainly did not have one in 2022, and she certainly did not have one in 2021.
Sunday has not displayed throughout this entire video in any way, shape, or form that a master's degree would be required to be a psychologist.
Oh, that was just an example
or a
listed, yeah.
He uses Wendy's words, saying that if you were in another province, it might have specific requirements, and one theoretical example could be a master's degree. He uses this information as a justification that I could not possibly be a psychometrist, even though it supports this conclusion in no way whatsoever. He simply pretends that it does and moves from there. This email is the linchpin of the entire piece. When it appears on screen, every viewer goes, oh shit, she's done. He uses this email as the cherry on top after having dragged my name through the mud for 20 minutes straight. And he goes out of his way to omit information contrary to his claims. He makes subtle embellishments of the information he presents, inserting words where they are not present, insisting that he is displaying sources with regulatory authority over psychometrics, while in the next breath declaring that there are no such regulatory bodies. He bounces back and forth between what criteria could or couldn't qualify someone as a psychometrist. He paints an insidious picture of me as a white-collar criminal who flexes her credentials to claim authority to which I have no right, a monster who has abused an ongoing pandemic crisis to embezzle government funds, and that perhaps, just perhaps, those funds are the reason for my success online. When I was thinking about ending this video, I could have gone on endless spiels about mean tweets, nasty comments, how his favorite word is stupid and moron, which is interesting because of the history of particularly the word moron. But that's not the point of this. That can't be the point of all this. I want to make a greater point, because this situation isn't just about me. This isn't the first or the last time that somebody has tried to cancel an academic. It's not just a sordid tale of two small content creators meaning at each other on the internet, because this situation is bigger than us. It's an excellent case study in why educated individuals don't dare wander into the foray of the internet. Why they often don't leave their ivory tower to tossle in the mud, because if they upset the wrong person, it might cost their career. On the left, we complain about rampant misinformation, wishing people could just be educated, and then we attack and try to ruin the career and reputation of academics because they're human, because they say things wrong sometimes, because they have an opinion that we dislike or don't approve of. Anyone who has anything to lose is fair game, leaving only individuals who have nothing to lose, to rise to the top of the pecking order and disseminate out to the masses what is what. Social media, streaming platforms, video platforms, they are our public square. And yet this type of behavior sets up the process by which only the least deserving will emerge. Remember at the beginning of the year when people attempted to cancel Lex Friedman because they didn't like his book reading? This is the problem. I am not as good as Lex. I am not as educated or trained as Lex. I don't believe in humanity nearly as much as Lex does. I disagree with plenty of Lex's beliefs, and I can also tell you that the world doesn't deserve people like Lex. But we desperately need them.
Wee-oo, simple alert.
If you stuck around this long, thank you. If you stuck around this long, despite disliking me, you have my respect. To all my viewers, supporters, and friends, you make this possible. You know I appreciate you, and I'm excited to see what the future holds. There are some specific individuals that I've listed that I would like to thank. This list, however, of people is in no way indicative of any of these people agreeing with my video, thinking I'm right, or even contributing to the content of the video. Many, in fact, most of the people on this list are simply kind and willing to ask questions. Many of them likely disagree with many of my political positions, but each of them, despite scathing accusations against my character, were willing to grant me the space to answer for it. Many of them granted me the benefit of the doubt, which is the most you can do. We're all human, and we should be willing to grant everyone a space of margin of error. So to these people, thank you for your kindness. Thank you for asking questions. And for those of you who supported directly, thank you for your support. I just want to thank personally Wick TV, Pisco, the whole Piscord, Brianna Wu, Mad Latin, Red Penny, Sick Unchained, Parallax, Nick, Professor Meat, Clean Chemist, Jacob, Adeon, my dog, Chud Logic, Will and his channel, Stardust, Tomfoolery, Aptitude, and Short Fat Otaku. Wow. There are many more of you on Twitter that I didn't get to personally thank or name drop. I apologize, I couldn't message all of you, but I saw your messages, I saw you questioning,
Where was
I
our
saw you
thanks,
pointing holes
guys?
in the garbage that Sunday produced. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I think that's it for tonight. I'm tired. It's been a long 4 or 5 days, however long it's been. So as always, big hugs, big kisses, think well, and have a happy life.
Okay, hold on. We're not done yet.
Hello, everyone. I don't usually do prepared video responses under my own face. I like to reserve this format for streams, but tonight's a bit of a special occasion. I've just finished the first of several very long passes of NotSoErudite's, Kyla's, hour-and-a-half long video response to my accusations that she has deliberately misrepresented her credentials in order to sell herself as a credible authority on matters of mental health and psychology, all the while spreading dangerous misinformation about the same and engaging in toxic behavior completely unbecoming and inappropriate to someone claiming authority in these areas in particular. I'm going to leave a link in the description to Kyla's video, and I encourage all those who haven't watched it already to do so. And when you do so, I encourage you to pay very close attention to what is said, what is omitted, and most importantly, to my surprise, what is not omitted. A good part of Kyla's video is comprised of some of the most brazen misrepresentations, even outright lies, I have ever seen someone commit their face to on camera, and virtually nothing I accuse Kyla of is actually refuted, but Kyla does indeed reveal several pieces of critical new information in this video, at least new to me. Some of them revealing things she didn't intend, but some of them revealing things she did. She did something very vile, something extremely bad in this video response, and funnily enough, it wasn't something she did to me. This week will represent a return to normalcy for this channel. We're going to conduct research streams, call-ins, and so on. I'd like to get a video on the circularity of the ideological underpinnings of IQ completed in the next couple of days. But next week, roughly, it'll take about that long, I reckon, we will respond to this. And stay tuned, because this is going to get interesting. As always, thank you for listening. Take care.
Wow. Jesus. What a wild ride, guys. What's your conclusion about the feud? Oh, I don't know. The President Sunday guy is just like, he's impossible to, like, you can't be reasoned with. He can't be what, he's just like a fucking insane guy. He's like a crazy person. I would almost say it's like not even worth like engaging with him. I mean, I can understand Kyla's frustration, especially because it's a little bit scary to have somebody like emailing like school associates and shit. That's got to be super fucking aggravating. Well, it would be. Like I said, he's kind of like a mini Max, basically. So I can understand her frustration, or maybe like the need. She probably feels a need that she has to like respond, but like, Yeah, the guy's like a fucking clown, and I think he will. I think he'll carry on like indefinitely. I don't think he has any shame whatsoever. Like, and he'll just, even if he's totally fucking wrong, he'll just keep going over and over and over again on everything, which is shit.
Hey.
What do you want?
Sorry, can I bug you for 2 seconds?
Can I ask you a question? You have to be honest
Yeah.
about this, okay? Ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, stop smiling. It's not a meme question. I've got a serious, hard-hitting one for you, okay?
I'm not on camera!
I can hear your smile, okay? You think I'm autistic?
That's true, that's true.
Okay. How do you fucking pronounce your name?
Which one? Like
Your-
Kyla
no.
or not so erudite?
Is it erudite or erudite? I pronounced your
It's
name
erudite.
erudite. Okay. You made fun of me for the longest time of pronouncing it quote unquote wrong, and then you corrected me. But in the beginning videos, when you introduced yourself to me in the beginning, you were erudite, and you changed it.
Oh,
Yeah.
down bad.
Just
Sell
saying.
stocks quick!
Okay, yeah. Well, okay.
All
What's
right,
up? What do you want?
Dusty, I just have to tell you that I am very grateful to DGG and you as well, but I didn't know if you wanted to be in any way touching it, which is why I didn't list you. But
Oh, no, you're fine. I didn't technically review it in time for you to have any input from me, so you're good. I don't fault you at all, okay?
that's true, that's true. How's London?
Pretty good actually. It was a lot of fun.
That's good, that's good. Well, thanks for watching it.
Yeah, are you ready for his
any-
what is like the goal? So like this is a guy that will fight you forever, right? What's
so
like the
I
end
blocked
game?
him. Yeah, so I basically have no plan to engage with him at all. I have no idea. I can't even think of what he has. Maybe he feels like I was, like, all I can think is, like, does he maybe think I was mean to Doe back then and, like, trying to appeal to that audience?
So let's say that he brings out like a video where he's saying that you were mean here. You're not gonna respond. You're just gonna let it stand or whatever.
No, of course. I mean all the time. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. It's exclusively, so the reason why I responded now at this time is because of like some of the criminal allegations and like the abject lying that I would say a normal person, if they watched his first video, would find it compelling. And so I needed to have the narrative like clarified and the like outright abject lies gone through. And then I also, like, this is like the third time people have come after me about like my training and education, which I get it. What is psychometrics? Who the fuck knows? Who cares? I don't even care at this point anymore. Like, god damn. So I feel like now if there's any questions in the future, I was planning to do a video on this theme anyway, so it was just like the right timing to wrap it all into a bow and present it.
Okay.
Yeah, but no engagement. And then behind the scenes, like, yeah, I've been having to like contact former employees and professors. And
is he being like really weird about like contacting people still? Do you think, or?
I have no idea, right? Like he like super locked down his Discord. Like he's going on an all-out war. So like, I don't know. None of them have heard anything, which was good. And they said like if they get anything, they're just gonna forward it to me. So I'm just gonna behind the scenes kind of track stuff as I need to.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
Well, actually, you were also right. I do have like mousy, dirty blonde hair.
Oh shit! I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Apparently, people said
Another
it
big outing.
doesn't count as dirty blonde, but
Tawny brown, mousy brown.
whatever. Yeah, I don't know, but that's okay. Join the club. We're cool.
Well, I dyed my hair black, so I'm more cool. So.
Is it actually black right now?
Yeah. What do you mean? Is it black right now?
I don't know. I pay attention to the words and everything. I'm not a very visual. Yeah, I would never do that, especially
Yeah, no. You
Nope.
would never look. You would never look at a woman.
I don't even think about women in that context. I usually just like judge people on like the merits and the veracity of their statements. So yeah.
Yes.
But that's
yes,
cool.
You're a
Gotcha.
sapiosexual exclusively. Very good.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. Anything else?
No, that's all.
Okay. Have fun. Be careful.
Okay. Have a good night.
Bye. All right. Good night. Ripperino, guys. Peace out.